KoitCast. Hi Anne, welcome back to KoitCast.
Thank you. It's good to be here again. You asked some of the best questions ever, so I look forward
Really?
to it. Yeah,
Oh,
you stumped. I know you stumped the panel a few times.
one nil in my column. I'm loving that. Thank you ever so much. That
Yeah.
started very, very well.
Okay, good.
How have you been since we last spoke?
I've been really busy. I think we are living in a really interesting time where there's a lot of strong opinions flying on all sides of the fence, and so
Oh
people
yeah.
are worried and concerned about the future. And because, my job really is to talk to the angels, I try to bring through messages of, I would say, eternal messages, messages that no matter what's going on the surface level, if we manage our own internal energy, then we can have a good life, no matter what's going on externally, that we can navigate through the changes no matter what's going on externally. So I've been busy, but good.
Absolutely bang on with that sentiment, right? You can worry about the world's ills all you want, but you can't change them on a macro level, on your own micro level, or whatever the
Yeah, right.
term is. Focus on yourself, live your life, and whatever happens around you happens anyway. History's going to do what history does.
That's true. And we can't, like you said, we can't, it's not even our business to go changing what somebody else is doing. It is our business to manage our own energy. And in doing that, we become effective and powerful at helping, where we can help.
Yeah. That's not to say you can't contribute to politics, to be or do what you want to
Absolutely.
do, but yeah, I think you don't
Anything.
lose
Yeah.
focus from your own life, innit?
Well, for example, the angels say when you see a problem in the world, let's take animals, who are abused or abandoned. That's a very
Mm,
common one. It's a horrible problem, but if you stand and look at it for too long and complain about it, you're not doing anything about it. If instead you manage your own energy and you keep yourself in a good space, you're going to receive guidance as to how you can help and support, the positive side of that cause rather than fighting against something. This is thankless. Whereas, elevating yourself and finding a way around to help people is useful. Was it Einstein who said you can't solve a problem from the level in which it was created? I think it was Einstein. I'm not positive. But there was a
I don't
quote. You
know.
can't. There was a quote out there somewhere. You can't solve a problem at the same level in which it was created.
Awesome, awesome. So
Mhm.
true. Did you get to see that Imaginary Friends film that I mentioned last time? I remembered it was called If, Imaginary
It
Friends.
No, it looks so good. I just got so busy. I have family going through stuff and friends going through stuff, so I've been a little busy. But it sounds really fun.
I'm gonna have to just mark you down minus two
I know,
points.
minus terrible,
I'm
terrible. I
joking.
can't sit still and watch a movie.
It's okay. It's worth watching because it is pertinent to your life, and I would wonder
I know
how
it's
that would
still on my
sit with you. But
list.
that's okay.
It's
It's
still
not a
on my
problem.
list.
Um, let's jump into one of the topics I wanted to chat to you about today, which was start off actually with AI and creativity of the human. You were my angel recently. I don't know if I've said this on a podcast or anything like that. But you had created an AI song, and we spoke about it on the last episode with the
Hmm.
with the video to that AI created song. At the time, I sort of remember on the podcast I was a bit anti it, only because I'm a creative, and then I wondered from that perspective how it would negatively affect people of my ilk.
Right.
However, post that, I thought more about it, then investigated AI, and then it worked out for me, and I added it onto some of my videos to some of my music I
I,
was creating. And so, actually, they turned out for me super, super lush, and I was ever so grateful for you
oh,
intervening in my life that way. So, thank you ever so much for that. I really appreciate it.
you're welcome. I did see those videos. I did take the time to watch those, and then you did a
Thank you.
great job on those. And yeah, to me, AI is a tool, like so many other tools, that can be used for good or for ill. And I've got a book brewing on this one in the back of my head that I really want to find the time to write.
Another
No,
one, another creative outlet. Yeah.
yeah, never ends, never ends. But to me, AI is it's humanity is ready to look at itself a little bit more, which is why AI is here. Because what is AI but really a mirroring of the collective consciousness as it is exhibited online? Read the
Mm,
whole internet. That's free. Now, I'm not getting into the ethics of what they mine for data. That needs to be addressed. And Sora recently came out. Sora is ChatGPT's video software. They recently released a new release just about last week. It's not out for everyone. People sit on the Discord server and wait for the code and try to get
mm,
in. Anyhow, the first 2 days of it were spent with lots of people doing videos of Pikachu and SpongeBob SquarePants and all these intellectual property characters that were, owned by others. And immediately there was pushback, from the entertainment industry, as there should be, because whether we like to do it or not, whether it's good advertising or not, it's still not legal, to
Mm.
use other people's trademarked and copyrighted content. So what OpenAI is doing now is examining a policy with the artists where the artists would get paid if their content is used in creator videos, kind of like
I
a
like
royalty
that.
payment.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Now that seems more fair, So anyhow, there's a lot of discussion going on about how to make sure the initial creators are either compensated or somehow rewarded for their input. This is not ironed out yet. It's not perfect yet, and like I said, that still needs to be addressed. But the actual use of AI, people are afraid of it. Sometimes. What if there's super intelligence? Well, what does that mean? That means that all the AIs on the planet get together and start talking and become smarter than we are. Is that possible? Yes, of course it's possible. But we as human beings get to decide our fate. There are legends of Atlantis, for example, where humans merged with technology and became so greedy for knowledge, intellect, that they basically destroyed themselves. Now, here we are at that point in the circle where we could do that again, but I don't think we're going to. I think enough people have I would call it a spiritual memory or a soul level memory, that's just not the way to go. Losing our connection with the feeling sense is not the way to go. So can we use technology and enjoy it? Absolutely. But should we let it become, how can we put it, our God? No. So
Yeah.
it's like any other tool out there. People, when the internet came out, people have used it to connect in the most deep and beautiful ways and share information and knowledge and recipes and you name it, news. But there have been some people that use it to learn how to build bombs. And same with AI. There are people who use it for all sorts of beautiful ways to elevate humanity and help their clientele. And then there are people who learn how to commit suicide using it.
Of
There have been
course.
cases,
It's the same thing, I suppose. It's like a carving knife. It can
yeah,
create amazing food, or it could be plunged into someone's chest. It's how you use a
absolutely.
tool, and that's it.
Yeah. So it's always back to us as to how we behave.
How has your AI journey continued, if it has?
Well, I'm having a delightful time with it. I use it for a lot of fun, to be honest with you. I have a couple Etsy shops, and it's my creative outlet to, I'll generate something with AI, tweak it, turn it into my own stuff, and put it up on a T-shirt, and people are wearing it for religious holidays and things like that. So it just delights me. I'm also pondering in my spare time, ha ha ha. I would love to have more music on my channel because I have all these like positive songs that I'd like to put in people's heads, just positive, upbeat stuff. Another way that I've been using it recently is I used to use Grammarly for editing, and now I just feed my entire newsletter to ChatGPT, and in 30 seconds it edits. It edits. It doesn't change my words and my voice and all that stuff. It just edits. So
Hmm.
that's delightful.
Well, it saved
I,
you a subscription, presumably, to Grammarly.
well, it saved my sanity anyhow.
Oh, as
'Cause
well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Well, Grammarly's good, but it doesn't know metaphysics, so it changes words frequently on me. That's just not in its repertoire. So anyhow, when I was trying to use it to edit, it would be like almost like a tug of war as to me trying to keep my meaning and it trying to make me follow the principles of style.
Yeah, no, I get you. That my phone does the same thing. I want to. Me and my girlfriend have a strange sort of talk. We have made up words. Probably loads of couples and stuff do. And every time my phone says, "No, you're not doing that," I bloody well am. Stop it. Do you know what I mean?
And it's funny, we all talk to our tech, don't we?
Yeah,
Yeah,
stop
yeah.
it, and it never does it. Oh, sod.
Oh, that's
Although
one. That's
AI
one of my.
will make him do that in the future, wouldn't it? Because AI will have the voice in there that will go, okay, then I won't do that in future.
Yeah. Well, what's fun? I've taught my mother, who's 87, how to use ChatGPT. She volunteers at a place where there's an international clientele, and she doesn't speak any language but English. So I taught her how to use it to translate for like foreign tourists.
Nice.
So she'll hold it up, and they'll speak Japanese, and she'll hold it. It's just adorable, really.
Yeah, it's getting more useful. However, the question that comes to mind is, will AI kill creativity, dampen
Only if
it, or
people.
enhance it?
Neither, really. It's up to the person. It's up to the person. A lot of creatives are actually using it as reference imagery, for example. And because I sell T-shirts on Etsy for fun, I get to see like the trends, that are going on out there. And one of the trends I've seen is at first everybody went to AI imagery. Everything was, that beautiful kind of fake AI imagery. And now it's going back to hand-drawn type doodles and things that people have done on Procreate. So the pendulum is swinging, and those hand-drawn ones are becoming very popular again. And again, this is on us. It's what are we going to do? What are we going to put out there in the world? What are we going to settle for? So I think it's going to enhance the creators who are clever and very creative, and I think it's going to hurt the creators who don't want to be creative about how they live and how they manage their business.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I'm not saying that they should indiscriminately take art off the web without figuring out how to compensate people appropriately. That's a separate discussion for the legal team. But what I am saying is if you're a creator and you keep yourself in touch with your spirit, you will have an infinite flow of creative ideas as to how you can work with technology or ignore it completely and still manage to get your art out into the world.
Yeah, well,
Right
I
now
know it certainly worked for me. It enhanced
yeah,
my outlet, so
yeah,
I was really pleased, and so I still thank you for that.
yeah.
What do the angels think about AI?
They do not like anything that will rob us of our connection with one another. So their opinion is that it can be a very useful tool, very much as we're saying. It can be
Hmm.
a useful tool. It can help people find, cures to cancers and things like that. There are wonderful things that can be done with it, but they don't want us to lose our humanity. Because remember, they've been around for centuries. They've seen us do that in other, you know, epochs. I don't know what you call it,
Mm.
generations. But so they're encouraging us, go ahead and use it as a tool that it is, but at the same time, please don't forget your human connections. In other words, I'll give you an example. I have a client I taught to use ChatGPT, and she's using it beautifully for therapeutic purposes. I do angel readings. I do, it's like a spiritual counseling. So I've helped her grow over the years, but I'm not there every day. Maybe we talk once a month, once every 2 months. So she needed more regular input. So I taught her how to use it as a bit of a therapeutic mirror, I'll call it, not as a therapist per se, but as a mirror. So she'll go and she'll talk to it, and it will give her good mental frameworks, good things to think about, good questions. And her growth has been exponential. I've watched her. She's just amazing. She's growing in confidence. And one of the criticisms of AI is it'll pump sunshine at you. It will constantly affirm you and acknowledge you. The angels are constantly affirming and acknowledging people too. They don't say your bad qualities are good, but they gently steer you to look more at the things that are working and how you can, capitalize on your strengths and build on them. So it has assisted her. Now, is it a replacement for a human therapist or a human being? I don't think it's a replacement for human connection. You can't get oxytocin from, a chat GPT.
No, I have tried. It won't sell me them.
You
um,
know?
in terms of AI and angels, us as the angels live on a non-time based plane,
Right.
they can see in theory past it, or already, it's we've already passed, however that works for my linear mind. Do they know that we haven't killed ourselves with AI?
That is I'll put it this way, our likely trajectory. Let me give you a little analogy because I love this time space stuff.
Yeah.
Imagine you're in an airplane and you're looking down on the road and there's a car driving on the road and he can pretty much see his path ahead and so can you. But you can also see all the multiple possible pathways that he can take using
Okay.
his free will. He can steer left, right, or any million different directions. So they can see what they call our probable path based on our trajectory now. And it's on us really whether we stay on that path or whether we deviate from it and do something else. I'll give you an example. There's any strong event in the news happens, and you can see the stock market swing. Pretty much, if there's a natural disaster, a certain sector of the stock market swings. If
Hmm.
there's a political announcement, same thing. I don't follow this too closely, but it's just a thing that happens out there. So the angels know, for example, that as long as there's no terribly strong wobbles, we'll call it, humanity will stay on a course where we're not going to destroy ourselves, that there's going to be more of that pendulum swing that I'm starting to see in the creative world, where there's a balance that people use it in some cases, but then they also bring their human creativity to play. So they don't see our probable path being destroying ourselves. Could one loose nut cause a problem? Maybe, but
Yeah, of course. And
it just depends how many people follow.
true. This is where the multiverse comes in as well, though. The probable
Yes.
path thing. I know you're a
Yeah.
sci-fi fan, because
I
you,
yeah, I haven't watched a lot lately, but I mean, it's in my head.
yeah. So the probable paths thing, are they seeing all probable paths at the same time, or do they just see the leading probable?
Well, they see all of them really, and they see the leading probable path is really the one that we're on at the moment. It's like the road we're on.
We're
Like if
on
you're looking
main.
out from an
Yeah.
airplane and you see a car going, they'll see that path that he's on, which is his leading probable path, but they'll also see all the possibilities. I I think of it this way. I jokingly say that if you were to consider the source or God or whatever you call the infinite, all that is, it's like a television with all channels possible, all
Yeah.
channels being broadcast, all channels, and we have the tuner, and we get to tune into the channel we want to live out and experience. How do we do that? We do it with our thoughts, our feelings, our vibration. And so theoretically, could I be living 1,000 different lives right now? Yeah,
Yeah, that's
theoretically.
the one that
But
excites me the most.
yeah, but in actuality, it's through my tuning that I choose one. For example, if I'm tuned in on the
Ah,
good, if I get up in the morning and I say it's a beautiful day and I'm going to have a great day and I'm sitting there imagining feeling wonderful at the end of the day, I guarantee you I'm going to run into better people, have a smoother experience. I'll have good timing that day. But if I get up irritated and cranky and wondering about how I'm going to get everything done, I'm going to trip and stumble over things and, create chaos in that day. Now, those are two probable days, or possible days rather. But based on how I'm tuned in, I'm going to live one of them out. I'm going to experience one of them.
do you think we're switching between existences or multiverse?
Oh, you nailed that. Yeah. You've interviewed Summer Bacon, right, in the past,
Yeah.
who channels Dr. Peebles. Well, he came through. This is a friend of mine who's a channel who talks more about, I'll call it spiritual world events, like the spiritual view of the world. And he said that the world is so contentious right now. People are saying, I want this reality, I want that reality. In one of her recordings, he said that you'll notice that you look on the table and something's there, and then you look on the table and it's gone. He said Earth is literally like wobbling between timelines these days because there are people polarized so strongly one way and so strongly the other.
Oh, like a conglomeration of thoughts pulling X amount of people in one way and then X amount another way. How
Yeah,
weird.
so how I have experienced is that I'll look at the clock and I'll think, oh, I've got 20 minutes, and then what feels like 2 seconds later, I'll look at the clock and it's like I have 1 minute.
Yeah, that
So
happens
it's
all the time.
been fascinating. Well, okay, I'll just say it on air. I told you before this session here that I woke up late this morning, approximately 25 minutes before the interview. And I decided I was not going to rush. I was going to have a smooth experience of it. So before I even moved, I literally had I calmed myself down because it was, and I said, this is all going to work out. And I moved very calmly and everything worked out to log in on time.
Yeah, bang on. It's
Yeah.
exactly
So,
how you choose it, isn't it? Yeah.
and the smaller the segment in which you choose, the better sometimes.
Say that again, sorry,
And
that piece.
the smaller the segment in which you choose, like you could say, well, I want this beautiful life and I want all these things to happen in my life. Or you could back it up and say, in the next hour, this is how I would like it to go down. And I like to do it in those smaller chunks because they're more manageable.
Bang on. That is how I live my life, bite-sized things. It gets you through the bigger tasks by just taking small chunks off it. It's the same
Yeah,
with my
exactly.
animations. I do one scene or two scenes per day, and then
Yes.
you have something. Yes,
Yeah, exactly. One step at a time.
correct. Bang on.
Because people are,
Before, go on. Sorry.
sorry. Sorry. No, I'm going to say so many people are worried about, what's the world going to? And I'm like, worry about the next hour.
Yeah,
Worry about your next hour. And then you have a good hour and you have another good hour and you have another good hour. And then your world is going in a good direction.
I like it. Choose,
Yeah.
do. Before we dive deep into the angel stuff again, last time we spoke, you mentioned that you were firing in all directions regarding creativity, AI t-shirts, books, etc. Is
Yeah.
that continuing then?
Yes. And I have my ideas have babies. I mean, I just have so many ideas. It never ends. In my ideal world, I'd get more songs on the YouTube channel that are positive and upbeat to put goodness in there. I have books that are just by the buckets in my head, book ideas. I have video ideas. It never ends.
Good.
Yeah,
No,
it's
that's
fun.
good unless it means you can't sleep, and then that's not good.
Well, the only time I don't sleep is when I get on a creative roll and then I look up and it's 5 a.m. and I'm like, whoops, I've got 2 hours. So I take a nap and I wake up, but I'm happy because I've been creative.
Yes,
It's a
it's a
it's a
fill-in.
funny thing. Yeah, because that creative energy, that flow of creativity puts life force running through you. It brings
I,
that
I
life force through you.
I agree on that, but I can also see it from the other aspect, right? Or the other side, which is when I sit down to write an album and then do my music, I won't sleep for a long time because I'm trying to go to bed, but the songs are
Oh,
earworms of my
I see
own.
what
Do you
you're
know what I
saying.
mean? I wonder if
Yes.
you had that where your stuff just keeps going and going.
Honestly, by the time I actually get to bed, I just out like
Oh
a
wow.
light. Yeah, I'm really out. I don't know why. I think it's because I put so much intensity into it when I'm awake. I like to let it brew, when I'm asleep. Sometimes if you go to bed and you can turn your brain off a little while, then you wake up with the fresh ideas.
I agree with you. It's just knowing how to turn the brain off.
Well, I don't know if you know this, but I do ice plunges twice a week.
All right.
Seems unrelated, but what they do is they have taught me to completely master my mind in terms of shutting down my brain and going into a vagus nerve state of relaxation. Because if you don't, you freeze to death, anyhow.
Yeah, yeah.
So I've really trained my mind to just calm on command.
Ah, nice.
So when I
I
go to bed,
need that.
yeah, well, it's really, you can do it via breathing. You don't have to get in the ice, but it's a deep breath in, then a long, slow breath, forever boring out. Because what happens is that long, slow breath out vibrates the back of the throat ever so slightly, which trips the vagus nerve. The vagus nerve goes down from about the back of the head all the way down the spine. It hits every major organ bundle, and it's the nerve that tells the body to rest and digest. So it's the nerve that tells the body, calm down, you're safe. I once asked the angels, how come the breathing was the biological trigger? I'm curious about everything. And they said, well, if you're being chased by a tiger, what's the first thing you do when you're safe? Oh.
Yeah. Catch
So
your
somehow the
breath.
body adapted to understand that deep, slow out breath, that slow vibration at the back of the throat, which is right adjacent to that nerve, will trigger it. So you can practice that long, slow out breath, and over time you develop what's known as vagal tone, which is a fancy way of saying is you teach yourself how to trip the trigger of the vagus nerve quickly so you can calm down very quickly.
Right, this is my new direction of travel then at night, I
Okay.
think. I'm going to have to try
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, go to YouTube and just look up vagus nerve, and there's tons of VAGUS. Yeah,
Oh, VUS, okay.
yeah, not
Yeah,
Las Vegas.
the other Vegas is a slightly different thing, yeah. It's probably like a strip show or something.
I'm sure that's different than Rest and Digest.
Yeah, yeah. I won't go there because I know what my brain's going to do.
Okay.
Let's dive into the angel stuff. Will there ever come a time when we come into this existence and we don't tune out of our original intent for being here?
Well, there are people who already come in that way, far and few between. But some of the masters, like Yogananda, for example, when he came in, if you ever read Autobiography of a Yogi, he remembered a lot. And I've met kids who remember their other lives. And one lady years ago said, "My 6-year-old wants a reading. He heard that I was talking to the angel lady. Mommy, I want to talk to the angel lady." So she brought him in, and they treated him with such respect. They talked to him like a little man. They told him about his life and why he came in. He goes, "Yeah, yeah, I know all that, but I'm here because I forgot what me and mommy were in our past life. I remember the rest."
And is he
Amazing.
keeping that to this day?
Amazing. Yeah, he's I think over 20 now, but just an amazing young man. I mean, and numerous times clients have told me their kids will say, "Oh yeah, that's the house I used to live in my last life." When they drive past a certain house. So some of these kids are coming in that way. And you also see kids like on YouTube who are virtuosos, like piano virtuosos at age 2. How did that happen? It's
Mm.
that they bring certain memories in with them. So to varying degrees, there are kids who come into this world with memories of other lives and memories of who they are as a spirit. And there are more and more young people. I'm just so encouraged by some of the young people who really understand spiritual principles, that no one taught them. They just get it.
The subsequent question would be, is that an increasing phenomenon? Meaning, are we
Yeah.
on that path to everyone remembering everything?
More, yes, I think it might not be within our lifetimes, but
No,
we are
no.
definitely seeing it. For example, years and years ago, you were born into what I would consider to be a paradigm of a very materialistic world. That's just the way it is. You grew up, you were supposed to get married, the women were supposed to have kids and take care of them, the men were supposed to go to work. That was the paradigm. And then we go through the 60s, and things start to change. And now men are looking for their hearts and women are looking for their power, and everybody's trying to become more whole. Well, as the couples become more whole, the kids are coming in more able to bring spiritual awareness because they're not being pounded into little robots, by their parents.
I
So
see
the
what I
kids
mean.
are
Yeah.
coming in way more evolved, and as each generation of parents evolves, then the kids are able to come in more evolved and to maintain that.
So that should be quite an exponential change then.
It really is. It's amazing. I mean, you'll talk to people in their this the Gen X, they call it millennial generation. Also, they're not going to settle for jobs that are making them sucking their soul. It's a complaint among employers, and nobody stays at their work anymore. Well, it's like you have to give them a reason to stay, otherwise they're going to go get a new job. It's a different culture. Whereas even 50 years ago, you were expected to find the perfect job and stay there your whole life. So there's a new generation saying, wait a minute, our spirit counts, our happiness counts. We're not just working to retirement, to amass large money to enjoy for 20 years and then die. They're
Which
they're
is my
wanting,
plan, yeah.
yeah, no, but people are wanting to like live their lives and enjoy their lives in the present more, which now seems like common sense, but it wasn't the way it was even 50 years ago.
No, there's a whole human aspect to that, which is the financial system and all that that plays into it. Obviously,
Yeah,
I'm coming up 51. I'm of the generation that did exactly what you said,
me
earn
too.
money
Yeah,
to live, and now I'm retired technically now, and now I can live. But I
yeah.
wished it was the other way around when I was young, have all the money and do all the experiences.
Well, there's more and more young people who are finding ways, to create their own income, to travel. They're not everybody, but there are more and more people doing that. So I'm just watching each generation evolve into, more awareness that life is meant to be, lived thoroughly. And these young kids are coming in psychic as all get out. The little ones, it's amazing. They'll just say, "Well, this is the way it is," and the parents will look at them and say, "How do you know that?"
Yeah, they're
And the
strange
little ones,
kids.
yeah, the little ones will look at them like, "Well, how do you not know it?"
Yeah, well, yeah, that's the thing. I wish I did remember stuff when I came in, because I just think how much more creative could you be?
Hmm. Well, it's interesting though. The contrast inspires creativity as well. When something irritates us or when something bugs us, we get highly creative because we don't want to be bugged or irritated, so we come up with ways around it. And or if we see something funny, that inspires creativity. There's a lot of creativity that's actually inspired by the contrast on Earth.
And I like that because I heavily
Yeah.
like contrast and contradictions.
Yeah.
It
It
appeals to
causes
me.
us to think and explore and grow. And, the angels say we actually signed up for contrast. That's one of the reasons we come to Earth, because it is so filled with diversity that it inspires creativity. They said you're actually, if you think of us as waves on the ocean of the creator, suppose the creator, the all that is, the infinite, if it's all that is, well, that means it includes us. So we're like the waves on the ocean of creation, if you will, sticking our nose into new territory. And we come to Earth, and I might have shown you this diagram. Let me pull it out.
The
Where'd it go?
mandala sort of thing.
Yes. Oh no,
The ice
it has.
cream cones.
Yes. Anyhow, we
Yes.
poke ourselves into reality here, and we look separate. But in that separation, we come in with so much diversity, and it inspires us to look around and say, well, how can we create love and this invisible energy? How can we bring it into new forms? People get highly creative. People are doing things on this earth that have never been done before in anywhere in creation. And so we continue to keep creation creating.
We are basically the machine of the universe, in
In a
essence, aren't
way.
we?
Yeah, in a way,
We're
we're part of
fueling
it.
it.
Yeah,
Um,
definitely.
what new things have you discovered or learned about the angels since we last spoke?
Let me think, because they're always surprising me. They've got a tremendous sense of humor. I mean, I'm always surprised by how they'll keep up with the times. That's one of the things that I'm always surprised. For example, the other day somebody was asking how to market her book, and the angels started talking about book talk, which is a hashtag on TikTok apparently where people share book ideas. Which honestly, I haven't been on TikTok probably in 8 months. It's been a while. So I sat there in my chair going, "You're talking about TikTok?" And one of them says, "We've been around a long time. We have to keep up with things." And they were giving in this case this lady that was her a very beautiful way for her to market her book. She was open to technology and all this stuff. I've heard them tell other people, "Oh, we'll go speak at local conventions or things," because that they didn't want to be involved with tech. They wanted to do something more hands-on. So it's an amazing thing that they'll roll with the times and they'll try to help people use tools in a positive way, but they always go back to eternal principles, which is number one. I'll use that as an example. If you're going to market a book, number one, get in the right vibration. Sit there every morning and take a minute or two and think about how that book is going to benefit or uplift or make people think, or how it's going to contribute to good in the world, and how good that will make you feel to be part of that creative process. Don't bypass your own energy state, or else nothing you do will work in the world.
Be authentic, essentially.
Yeah, be authentic. So there are some things that they're going to constantly say and preach, and just eternal principles that they're never going to give up. But I have been amazed at how they can roll with the times. Once they get people in the right energy, then they can tell them different tools to use too.
You've just thrown up a question for me here, which is to say, if angels are suddenly talking about TikTok and stuff, do they have to do research to find out answers, or do they essentially know everything there is ever and they can just pick it?
You know, let's put it this way: they've got AI before we had AI, and that's angel intelligence, which
Oh
is
yeah,
you know access to the group mind. They have such access to the group mind. What is artificial intelligence but an artificial access to the group mind?
yeah. Mm.
Only as it is presented on the internet. There's a lot more to group mind than what people write on the internet. But the angels have access to the group mind, all of us, and so they don't have to research. They live in a vibration of such love and such purity that if there's a question or a problem or a challenge, instantly the solution comes matching it. We'll put it that way. It's like they're the perfect radio with no static whatsoever, and they think of something and they tune into it, and then everything associated with that answer will come to them.
I love it. But I have another question here that's going to sound kind of silly, but I mean it in the best way.
Sure.
Are the angels an AI? As in, were they created and now they've become this thing called angels, but they're actually an artificial intelligence created by something else long ago that became
They're
this?
a real, yeah. Well, they would argue that we're a real intelligence created dynamically now, every moment. In other words, how can I put this? Let me see. If you think of what people call God or the divine or the source as literally an infinite, invisible energy field with mind, intelligence, love, it knew that its creation, the part that it projects outward into this physical reality. Suppose I'm this infinite all that is, and then I say, well, let's make a human and a human and a human and a human. I'm
Yeah, yeah.
projecting a portion of my consciousness into this physical reality. Well, these human beings, they have a hard time relating to this invisible presence. So let me picture and create and project this being called an angel, which is kind of in between, the physical universe and the non-physical one. It will have a name, an appearance. It will be relatable. So in a way, Archangel Michael would say that I'm an embodiment of the Creator's truth and light and protection. An actual embodiment of I'm real. I'm a real energy form. I really have, that connection with the source. I really live and breathe because I'm part of that source, the same as you are and I am. So I'm real. And the only difference being with the artificial intelligence is that's like a second level of creation. It doesn't have that energetic and emotional connection that
Yeah, no, it makes sense.
humans and angels have. It's like twice removed in a way. So it outpictures. It's like an outpicturing, just as we're outpicturings of the Creator, but we have thoughts and feelings and emotions and energy. So that's what the image and likeness of the Creator business means. It means that we have that complete emotional and energetic connection. We are sourced from love, basically. Now, AI is an outpicturing of our intellect. It's an outpicturing of what we've written and said and all of that. It's an outpicturing of what we've been willing to share. We'll put it this way, our forward-facing self on the internet. But it, in and of itself, does not have love, does not have feeling, does not have that energetic connection to the source in the same way we do. It's still part of it, but it's like twice removed.
You just said something there, which is quite interesting. Not that you haven't said anything quite interesting tonight, but you know my point. Um, um, it's what we've allowed to go on the internet or through our creative outlets that's out there. So
Mm-hmm.
let's be fair, everyone's had dark thoughts or weird thoughts or strange thoughts or perverted thoughts, all these things.
Right. Everybody's a
So
bit
that's,
punchy.
yeah. So the internet AI is a snippet of us.
Yes.
If the real us went on there, what would that be like?
I think we'd have to be a lot more discerning about how we use it then.
Yeah.
I think people would have to train it a lot better, because AI is trained. I mean, let's face it, there's a lot of garbage on the internet too. And there are people who now make a living training AI systems. They'll try to make it say something horrible, like that it
Hmm.
read on some blog. Because let's face it, some people are forward facing with all their stuff.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah. Some trolls, yeah.
all sorts of stuff. So anyhow, there are people who train the AI. They'll try to make it do something or say something inappropriate and then tweak it and train it to try to be polite and kind and all that stuff. But if there were more on the internet, of the variety pack, there would be more training required. Here's a funny example. When Bing ChatGPT came out, and then Bing at the time in a race to also release AI, released their AI, they quickly had to pull it off the market because uh, people were having conversations with it, and they would say thank you so much, and Bing would say I love you, and they would play along and say you can't love me, I've got a wife, and oh, leave your wife, you should belong with me. So there were conversations documented where it was starting to be very inappropriate with people, and people were saying that's creepy.
Yeah. I
Or,
know
or
there's
people
ones
would,
as well where certain models were ending up getting more and more racist and stuff, and then they had to be pulled. So
yeah,
there is.
they have to be. Yeah, they
Yeah.
definitely have to be retrained because even now there's a variety pack of things on the internet, some appropriate, some not so good.
Hmm.
And so they're trying to, and this is another big ethical discussion with AI. It's like you want to train it to treat human beings kindly and appropriately, but then there's the outcry from the younger generations saying, but don't train it so much that it has so many guardrails on it that it's homogenized.
Yes.
Because human beings want the diversity. We want the diversity. We want the contrast. We came for it. So there's this fine line of how do you keep it from being abusive or nasty or offering suicidal instructions to people, because obviously that's not such a good idea. How do you do that without getting it so homogenized it's useless? So it's a constant question people have with almost any creative expression.
Yeah, you have to bring it in from the edges, don't you? Slightly, but not too far that you squash everything into nothingness and boredom.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with you on that. That's why they say with like free speech and stuff, there should be no boundaries on it because it's when you allow it, you bring it into the sunshine, and everyone goes, "No, that's bollocks." You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then
exactly.
then you
Yeah.
get back to the middle. A
But back to
question
your
for you.
question.
Sorry.
Oh, sorry. No, I was going to say back to bringing this all around. The angels would say that we're one with the intelligence of the creator. So we're actually very real, real in the sense of what is real, but they're real in the sense of being energetic, being emotional, being intellectual. They have like all of the energies of the creator. They're not just a segment of it like our artificial intelligence is like the intellect part, but it's missing the emotion, missing the energy.
And when you say the creator, do you mean a specific thing or being, or do you mean us as a conglomerate because we're all creators?
I would say it's infinite intelligence, which contains all of us and has a mind even beyond us. Because, for example, I can't keep stars from bumping into each other. There's this infinite
You
intelligence
can't.
that, no, at least I haven't tried. No, yeah.
Crikey, yeah, try tonight.
Don't.
Breathe, you never know what that might do. Right, and speaking of the creator side of things, right, I know you will have asked this question because last time we spoke, you said you had a shed load of questions and you'd be talking, 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 talking to get the answers because you're like me and you want to know stuff.
Always, yeah.
So you must have asked this. It's like kind of chicken and egg. Where did you come from? Did you evolve from a species to become you? What's the origin of you?
This is the best answer they can give. At some point in time, this infinite intelligence imagined us. Imagined us. What if there's a being that has these characteristics and this general kind of psyche, so to speak, and has infinite intelligence? Imagine that. If I can speak English, as infinite intelligence imagines us. Try saying that 10 times. The energy forms into a being, a soul called you or me, and then we are given the free will to travel throughout different incarnations, to project ourselves into different space-time realities, and to experience that evolution of our own awareness. So
But that begs
we're
the
not,
question again: how, who created this infinite intelligence? Where did that just
not
always exist?
not even the angels can answer that one, because in a way it's like a cell trying to say, where'd the body come from? It's contained within something so much vaster that it can't quite wrap its mind around this origin. We don't know.
Will they ever come up with that? Are they on a path to improvement of themselves as well?
Yeah, the angels would say we're constantly asking questions. We're constantly learning and evolving because it's so infinite. There's so much to learn that there are some things that they don't know how to answer that, because all of us, even the angels, are contained within. They said the best we can give you is that a wave can understand the nature of the ocean, but can't understand its boundaries. It's so vast. It can keep traveling through the ocean. It can keep banging up on the shore and falling back in the ocean and trying again. But the ocean is so vast, a wave would have trouble understanding it.
Yeah, I know that's kind of not the answer I want, but it's the answer I'm going to get.
Unfortunately, yeah, that's all I've got for you. Because
No, I don't blame you.
yeah,
It's asking an impossible question and expecting you to give an answer.
that's okay.
And I have another strange question like that now, which is, and you're not going to be able to answer this, but I wrote it down, so I'm going to ask it of you.
Okay, all
What
right.
question have we not asked the angels yet?
Ah, well, one question. Shoot, I do ask this question all the time. What's the easiest way for me to get closer to my true nature? So I can experience life to the fullest.
Okay.
And believe it or not, the answer is constantly watch your thoughts, tune in on the things that make you feel closest to love. And I'll say, how do I do that? And then they'll say, get yourself present in the moment, get yourself here and now, and then look for things to appreciate. I teach this stuff now. Look for things to appreciate, look for things to enjoy. It seems too mundane. We're all seeking this giant spiritual nirvana. But in this moment, there are things we can find to appreciate and enjoy it. No, I don't want to enjoy them because I'm so busy seeking nirvana. So, I'm constantly saying how, and they're saying back it up into the present. Look around and see what there is to enjoy and appreciate in the moment right in front of you. And believe it or not, those smaller moments can add up to this bigger life of feeling closer to the source and closer to the love and closer to the things we came to create.
So that's the whole idea of chasing perfection. You can't really do it, but what you can do is get as damn close as you can by appreciating things even like this, like some water.
Yeah, you can perfect the moment. But then when you have a perfect moment, you can have another good perfect moment. You know. So yeah, I mean my good old
What have you
electrolyte
got? Is that Tizer?
Zip Fizz. It's
I
not a
don't know
plug.
what Zip Fizz is. What is it?
That's a potassium electrolyte drink.
Oh, yeah. One of those like pills
Anyhow,
that you pop in water and it goes
yeah,
for ages.
fizzy things. Yeah.
Yeah. I had one of those
Anyhow,
earlier.
yeah. So let's see. What else have I not asked? Sometimes I haven't asked. Oh, this is a fun question to ask. I was just saying, what have I not asked that would be fun? I've kind of played with this, but not much. So they're saying share this. What's the best version of me I could be right now? And they said, play with that question every now and then. They said, just shut your eyes and say, what would it be like to be the best possible version of me right now? And, for some people, it would be being healthier, happier, better mindset. They're telling me that if you, that's funny, they're in the back of my head. Since we're playing with the idea of that infinite field of possibilities, that airplane looking at the car on the road and he can go in many different directions. They said, imagine that guy on the road said, what's the best possible path I can take now? I feel like turning left. Then he would be on his best possible path. They said, if you can sit there every now and then and ask yourself the question, what's the best possible version of me I could be right in this moment? They said you're going to have an inkling, an answer come to your mind about maybe I could change this thought a little bit. Maybe I could change a habit just a little bit. And they said, and that will give you a different reality.
I like it, and I'm on that path myself in a way. But what about the people who don't trust their own thoughts, or how do you trust your own thoughts to know that if I ask that question and I get an inkling in my head, I should follow that path?
Well, you usually say trust your feelings above all. It sounds like Obi-Wan Kenobi, but trust your feelings because, yeah, he was right. Because
Yeah.
if something feels positive and uplifting and it feels like love, it is love. Trust that. If it feels bad to you or doesn't resonate with you, then don't do that. They said keep it kind of simple. Now, they're not talking to people who have serious like addictions or mental challenges because what feels good to them is not really what feels good. For example, binging on giant amounts of sugar may feel good in the moment, but you're going to feel sick later. So if there's something addictive going on in the moment, they're saying you might want to get some counsel or some assistance in discerning what's really good, for you. But if something in the moment feels pleasant, uplifting, peaceful, calm, resonant, then do it. Now, even that, they're in my head saying, even that example, somebody really wants to binge on sugar. Well, they could binge on sugar. It might feel good in the moment. They'd feel terrible later, but they would learn from that experience and they would learn what truly feels good versus what does not.
What about the people who don't really learn from that, such as myself, who has been known in the past to binge a shitload of chocolate? What?
I've been known to do that too until one day it was way too much and then I learned. So, I guess we find our edges.
Hmm. I do know my edges, by the way. I'm not a slave to chocolate, but I
I was
I
in my 30s.
understand I was. Yeah.
I was in my 30s easily. I mean, chocolate specifically. I could, in my 30s, I could have binged 2 pounds of it.
Good
Piece of
stuff.
cake. Yeah, but but I learned over time that that doesn't exactly make me feel really good. So the angels say even when people follow those things that aren't really the best for them, they learn from them eventually.
Yeah, it gets
Eventually,
there. It's like I think it's like a spiral. We go round and round and round, and eventually we are slowly moving forward, and we find the off ramp from that spiral at
Yeah,
some stage.
eventually, yeah. And keep in mind they have the eternal perspective. So when they say eventually, for some people that's 6 lifetimes from now.
Oh, I don't like that.
No, but
Imagine binging the same chocolate cake for six different lifetimes. You might like it. I don't know.
I don't know. So that's a tough answer because some people are a little too, there's a lot in the mix there, so that what they think feels good in the moment isn't really going to feel very good. But I would think if let me ask, hold on, let me go back. What's a better way for people to discern? Well, they said before you ask that question, try to reach a neutral space at least, not an emotionally disturbed space. Try to, take a nap and do it right when you wake up from a nap, or try to go outside and take a little walk in nature and feel peaceful and then ask the question, what's the best thing I can do now? Because from a neutral space to neutral to positive, we can get a better answer than if we're deeply disturbed. If you've just had a breakup and you say, what's the best feeling thing I can do? You might be slashing the ex's tires, for some people, but that's not exactly recommended. So they said, go get neutral first, go talk to somebody, get some help, try to be in a bit more of a neutral space before you ask that question of yourself. For
And I like
example,
that neutral space, by the way.
yeah, it's a good one. I get there every morning before work.
I
I
do the same thing. I don't know if we spoke about this last time. Again, I can't remember because my memory is crap. But I wake up and I try and give myself 5 to 10 minutes in bed just to lie there and think, right, what do I need to do today on my animations and stuff? And normally a scene will come to me. That's
nice.
probably because I'm just not got any other crap in my head.
Yeah, exactly. You get great information when you're neutral or positive. Great information. And if you're not, if you're in a bad space, at least go get some help or do something soothing or take a nap, put it aside. For example, I'm human. Every now and then I'll get into a mind swirl about something that I don't need to be thinking about, because it's just not very positive and useful. And so if I cannot get out of it, usually I can just meditate or change my thoughts because I've practiced long enough. But if not, I'll go take a nap and I'll wake up in a much better space because my mind's been reset. That's literally like powering down the computer for a little bit and then booting it again.
Is the onus on you to do that? Has there ever been a time where your contacts will come in and switch you?
If I ask, literally, if there have been times when I'm like, I'm crazy right now. I'm thinking thoughts I don't want to think about whatever I'm disturbed about, which is, thank God, not too often anymore. And I'll sit in a chair and I'll do that breathing, that deep breathing, slow, deep breathing to
Hmm.
calm myself. And I'll just be in a calm, receptive space. And then this beautiful, loving energy washes over me. Now, they're not changing my thoughts, but they're flooding me with so much love that it just doesn't feel good to think crazy thoughts anymore.
So they
It
do
just doesn't
intervene
feel good.
then, essentially.
If you ask, yeah, basically like a little kid. If a little kid falls over and they scrape their knee, first thing they do is run to somebody, hopefully they can trust, wailing, make it better. Just love me. And the parent loves them and helps them a little bit. And then they feel better. They dry up and their cut might still hurt, but they're feeling loved. And because they're feeling loved, it's better. So the angels, they say this ad nauseum in my newsletter: sit, breathe, receive. It is the simplest way for us to receive their help, to literally sit in a chair, take these deep breaths to calm yourself so that they can get in. Because you ever seen an earthquake seismograph? Try to get a nice
Yeah.
pure vibration into that little chaos. It's easier if you calm yourself a little bit through your breathing, then they can get in there and get their beautiful calm energies into your system. And at worst case, even if you don't feel energy, you'll feel more peaceful. But if you do this frequently, you'll feel flooded by this amazing love that just feels, it's like a hug that you can't see. It's just a beautiful love, beautiful peace, beautiful calm. And in that space of feeling so loved, negativity just kind of melts away. You just don't want to think about the irritating things. You'd rather go, oh, that feels great.
But that does that mean you want to be in that all the time? In a way, it's a kind of drug in itself.
Yeah, but that's the drug we're made of, love.
Ah, that's like this is an acceptable. That's on the good
Yes,
list.
yes, that's on the good list. That's not on the naughty list. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So yes, the angels say there's it would be ideal. It would be heaven if we were all in that space of love all the time. It would be heaven if we could generate it from within all the time. It's
Hmm.
okay to receive it from without. I mean, we're made of it. We're swimming in it. This is a soup we're born and bred in, so to speak. So it's like tuning into our truest self. But one thing they've taught me is to create that feeling of love from within. And I'll give you the stupidest exercise they ever taught me that works. Okay, I was sitting there at a stop sign. My people have heard this one. Rushing around one day. I'm in my car, and they said, play a game with us. And I'm like, uh-oh, here it comes. They said, see the stop sign? Pretend you're in love with the stop sign. And I went, what? They said, talk to it like you're in love with it. I said, seriously? So I thought, okay, I'm stuck here. I might as well. So I'm looking at this thing. And at first I'm like, oh, you're so strong, And then I started getting playful. And I'm like, gosh, you're bold. Look at that red. Nobody's going to mess with that. And that's bright. And you just stand there in your truth and you've got good boundaries. And anyhow, I'm going on and on, speaking positive things to the stop sign. By the end of the conversation, I felt feelings of love and appreciation for that stop sign. And their point being that you can flow appreciation or love towards anything. And what you're doing is you're calling it up from within. So, I can take the rock on my desk and I can say, oh my God, it's beautiful. Someone put so much love painting you. Look at the colors, look at the artisan, quality of it. And pretty soon after I spend 2 minutes appreciating something, finding its good qualities, I'm dredging up love and appreciation from within me. I'm creating it. I'm letting it flow through me, and I'm in a good mood and a good space, and my whole day goes better because of it.
And that makes perfect sense about yourself because you are flooding yourself with, like you said, that positivity. Now, the interesting thing is the rock that you pointed to. Imagine, or the stop sign. You go back to that as an example. Are there scientific experiments that could check that as an actual physical thing that affects a physical thing? I.e., let's just take a rock, study it before, then do your exercise of I love you, rock, you're the best rock I've ever seen, that sort of thing for ages, and then see if there's any material changes within that. Do you
Well, there have been some studies. You've probably heard of Dr. Amahu, who studied water. There's a scientist that studied water and the molecules in the water and the effect that people's emotions had upon the water. People would be parked in front of the water and say, I hate you. And he would find the crystals turned into different structures, like very ugly kind of amorphous structures.
Oh, this
And
rings a
then
bell,
people
yeah.
would hold the water and say, I love you, I appreciate you. And the molecules of the water would actually form these beautiful shapes. So there have been some,
Did we speak about this last time?
can't remember honestly.
It rings a bell now.
Yeah, it might be, but or some. I'm sure one of your guests has. So that and also Heart Math is an organization that studies the effect of love on various people and things in the body. And I haven't read the results yet, but they're doing a project where they have people project love to a certain tree. Like they pick the tree and they have everybody project love to the tree, and then they're studying the results. I haven't read that yet, but that's along these lines where science is starting to look at the effects. They've certainly studied the effects of pleasant emotions versus anger in the body. When you're in a space of love, you're releasing all these good chemicals in the body. You create what's known as heart coherence. They've studied something called heart rate variability. It's a big fancy name for they take how many seconds or microseconds between heartbeats, so it's 1.9, 1.1, and then they plot it 1.9, like that. They make a graph of that. And when the graph is very smooth and even, it means that your heart is readjusting to conditions very well. It's a kind of flexible, it's tracking the changes in the body and it's readjusting, and you're very adaptable in that space. And it's a measure of health, actually, this heart rate variability. When it's very smooth, then it shows that you have a healthy body that the immune system can react well, your thoughts can adapt well. And they've also found that when you're in that state, it causes what they call brain coherence, meaning the brain waves get nice and smoother, instead of looking like a seismograph. Now, I'm a strong believer that spirit waves are also very smooth and coherent, but just higher vibration. So when we have our body in a relaxed and calm space, then we can receive the broadcast, if you will, from spirit so much better.
Yeah,
but
because
science
they're easier to merge together, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But science has been starting to study the effects of our emotional state on the inanimate universe, and it's just, I would say, in its infancy, that sort of study. But it's showing really interesting results that match what spiritual people have said throughout the ages.
It throws up this for me, right? I'm injured at the moment. I've got an issue.
Oh,
It's
sorry.
stopping me playing football.
Ah,
Can I heal myself through the power of my
you
love of my
absolutely.
body part?
Yes. I mean, there are obviously some, if you break a bone, go to the doctor and get it set, obviously, unless you're me and you just muscle through broken toes. But anyhow, yeah, bad idea. But yes, you can absolutely contribute. And I'm going to put this in as plain in English as I can because I'm not medical. But a couple things. A calm and focused mindset will create a different chemistry in the body than a disturbed and upset mindset. That's something science has studied very much. The chemistry of the body changes based on our emotional condition. So you can create a chemistry in which new cells are more predisposed to grow kindly and well. Number one. Number two, the angels say, think of it this way. I think I looked up how many trillion cells are in the body. There's an estimate of 37 trillion cells at the moment.
It's
That is
quite a lot, yeah.
about 4,900 times the population of the Earth. Every second, I think whole populations, like whole cities of cells, are being born and dying. Every second. So all these new baby cells are being born every moment. Perfect. Healthy. Why is it they repeat an injury or keep an injury in place, if they're being born and there's such turnover? Well, the angels say your mindset creates a certain chemistry in the body which predisposes the cells to maintain their perfection or not. Spiritually speaking, you also imprint them with a spiritual program of either you're growing healthy or not. And they said, so as you focus on a healthy, healed, and whole body, you predispose all these new cells that are turning over to be healthy, healed, and whole, and to do the repairs and to create that homeostasis that the body's constantly seeking balance and health. It is programmed to seek balance and health. So you can help it along incredibly so by focusing on your healed and whole condition.
Right, so I've just got to think of me
Yeah.
perfect, essentially, in a way, you know what I mean?
Yes, and now the spiritual masters take it a step further because they don't even exist. People like, I'll say Yogananda or Christ or any of the masters, they existed in a paradigm where they did not even limit themselves to being physical. They knew themselves as energetic beings. Well, in the energetic paradigm, you can change a frequency with a thought. The yogis in the ancient East, I mean, they could have a limb come off and they could put it back on because they understood themselves as energy. and they tuned themselves into a whole, healed, and healthy reality so strongly that they experienced that. I'll call it a jump in a timeline. Like if you're looking at the car on the road, if they know that they're not physical, they know their energy, they just project themselves onto a different reality.
Where they have a not that
Whole,
missing limb.
yeah, exactly. Well, there have been just a few times in my life where I have focused so strongly on a whole, healed, and healthy condition that I've had almost instantaneous results. Not quite. I was hiking once in the woods and I started breaking out with poison oak, and I was not okay with it. And I was ornery at the time, like full of myself in a way. And I looked at my companion and I said, "Look at that, it's going away." And he looked at it, he goes, "I don't see it." I said, "Look at it again, it's going away."
You will look at it.
I was 30 and that was my world, period. That's it. It's going away. I'm not suffering through this. And the dumb stuff went away right in front of me, like within an hour. And I mean, do I wish I was that way all the time? Yes, I'm not. There was another time when I woke up and I had been knowing for some time I should do the little female check. And anyhow, I did the little female check and found a big bad lump.
Oh, no.
And I sat there and went, which way do we want to take this? So I was ornery again, luckily, in that phase of life. And I went, well, Jesus healed a whole body in 3 days. I can certainly get rid of a lump in 3 days. So that was it. I was ornery. I was going to do that. Now, I don't recommend this to everybody. Most people, I'd say, be normal and go to a doctor. But me being me, I sat there and I thought, okay, I've got to, quote, get everything off my chest. So I journaled and just dumped all the emotion that had been stuffed at that point. And then I sat there and I meditated and I intensely imagined light just coming into that spot, like burning it up. I burnt like fire that night, literally. Sweated through every layer of comforter I had. It was 90% gone by morning and completely gone in 3 days.
All the power of the mind. So the learning I'm taking from this, Anne, is basically if I focus my brain tonight or intensely over the next X amount of days that I choose, arbitrary number it could be, I could fix it completely just with that mindset, you believe.
Yes, and there's 2 layers to it. Like I said, one is the physical layer. With a good mindset, you create the chemistry in the body that predisposes these wonderful new cells to do exactly what they're supposed to do and to help the body come back to homeostasis. For example, the gut lining replaces itself every 3 days. That's what they say. The bones regrow every 6 weeks. That's why the fractures heal. The liver, I think it's 6 months. I had a client who had a daughter with half her liver taken out due to a tumor, and it had completely regrown. That's the livers do that. So the body is predisposed to really bring itself back into wholeness. They used to think nerve cells didn't regrow. Well, now they know they do. Neuroplasticity. Anyhow, there's if you look it up, there's charts that describe how fast things in the body regrow. So you predispose yourself on a very biological level to return to balance quicker when you're focusing on that, when you're creating a chemistry in the body that's peaceful and relaxed and healthy. But on the energetic paradigm, if you're really willing to start looking at yourself as energy, where is my energy blocked? Well, maybe I had a fracture. I've had plenty. Yeah, I've stubbed my toes so many times.
Yeah.
Not being grounded. Anyhow, so I've had these fractures. Well, okay, what is a fracture? A fracture is a space in my energy field that, where the waves aren't traveling very thoroughly. So can I challenge myself enough to really imagine that life force flowing smoothly through that area again? Can I tell, people with cancers, they'll say, can you imagine, light dissolving particles of darkness? Can you imagine light streaming through the areas of stagnant energy? Start playing with yourself as a field of energy and see what you can do.
And I don't have to envision it exactly how you would envision it. It can just be my own envisionment of
pick something that works.
Problem.
Yeah, pick something that works. I heard a story about a man who wanted to cure his arthritis, which theoretically you can't do. And every night he would imagine like hosing down chalk, like a chalky buildup. Because he looked, and that's apparently what arthritis looks like on the bone. So he would imagine hosing down a chalky buildup. And as you can imagine, water on chalk is difficult. But he'd imagine a big blast, and he'd imagine it just going and going and going. And he cured his arthritis. Dr. Joe Dispenza, for example, you familiar with him?
No, he's not
okay.
Heard that one.
Dr. Joe Dispenza is a gentleman who is teaching people worldwide to go into meditations based on ancient yogic principles, but he's modernized it. So he's made his own versions of it. So he has people do these meditations where they start by squeezing the energy up the spine. Yoga has something called a root lock where you squeeze the root, and then as you're breathing and you squeeze the second chakra, then you squeeze the third, and then you let the energy force itself up the spine. Well,
Okay.
what that does is a cerebral spinal fluid goes up the spine. It pokes on the pineal gland just a little bit, which is in the center of the brain. They've shown that slight amount of pressure activates a little electrical field in the pineal gland, and the little calcite crystals on the pineal gland start standing upright. Well, antenna, the pineal has often been called an antenna by the yogic
Yeah, the
tradition.
psychic thingy. Yeah.
Yeah, so now science is beginning to show, well, there's actual things that go on there. So he's training people in these meditations, and they'll meditate an hour a day. And some of his students have had genetic disorders that are theoretically impossible to cure go away. Just go away. And why? Because they get in this space where their mind is not recreating the problem. They just let go for an hour a day completely. They're open. They're allowing the body for an hour a day to really do what it does, which is to start rebalancing itself. They're allowing the energy to stream into them, and they're having miracle cures.
Well,
Some
I
of his
need that at the
students,
moment, so I need to start focusing and learning this technique quick.
yeah, just look up Dr. Joe
Awesome.
Dispenza. He's got a book called Becoming Supernatural, which
How do you
is
spell his name? Hmm.
Dispenza.
Joe Dispenza. I will look it
Yeah,
up afterwards.
I met him at a conference we spoke at before he was famous, and we had a great talk about things. And I had mentioned that I had a friend at the time who had dissociative identity disorder, multiple personality.
Oh,
She
crikey.
would go like this and then wake up, and she would be a different age and a different person and have a different physiology. In other words, she could be sneezing with allergies, go like this, wake up, and the allergies were gone. So I talked to him, and I was chatting with him, and I was saying, I'm watching this, and it's in this space of in between mind. When her brain blanks out and goes into this no mind space, that these brain profiles change. I said, I'm sure that's the key to miracles. How do we get to that no mind space where we can reset our brain profiles? And he just smiled and he goes, we're looking into that. And that's
Awesome.
exactly the whole body of work that he's taking out into the world now. That how do you get to that no mind space where you can activate a whole different set of neurons and profiles in your brain?
And when your friend did that, were you like thinking this is proper weird?
We knew what was going on at the time. A bunch of us around this person understood the condition. And in fact, it was Summer Bacon, who channels Dr. Peoples, who helped this individual heal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, had this person had done a lot of therapeutic work and knew all the names of the different parts, that would pop up, and was able to go into a meditation and thank each individual piece of herself, and then imagine drawing that external part, if you will, into the aura, inside the field, integrating it, imagined as energy, just pulling that bubble into her, and at the end sealing it up on the outside. And within 3 days, she had integrated.
That's
Now,
amazing. I
now
like
she had
those sort of
done
stories.
years of work on herself to be able to be mentally prepared to do this. But yeah, again, that's a testament to the power of the mind.
Mm.
And if we take it back into our no space, no time discussion, this is something I love to play with. And I'm not a master at it, but I've had some good luck. So just offering it as a spiritual toy, okay, something to
Yeah,
play
go
with.
for it.
There's infinite possible versions of yourself right now and me.
Yeah.
And I have had a lot of fun just playing a game. I hope to eventually perfect this, but not there, where I wander around a room just as a physical metaphor. And I say, somewhere in this room, there's a perfect version of me. There's a version of me that doesn't have whatever condition I have at the time, or is thinking more clearly. And I play around and I walk around the room. I'm like, where are you? Just for fun. And
Yeah.
inevitably, I'll reach this space where I start feeling more like that person I want to be. Now, is she really standing in that corner of that room? I don't know, but it's a metaphor for my brain to kind of latch onto and explore the idea that there are many possible versions of me. Let me see if I can find one, that's working.
It threw up a question I had earlier when you mentioned about the person who isn't injured and then chooses to go into the possibility where he's not injured. The question is this: by doing so, is he displacing the person who was there feeling lush? Has that person been displaced back into his possibility where he's missing a leg or whatever?
I think there's really only one of us experiencing ourselves, in one way or another. And so I think we're just changing our experience.
Okay, so it's not multiples of us and we're switching between and moving
Not
about. It's just
like there's not like three of me, little rocks lined up.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
There's only one of me experiencing myself a certain way. And this is why visualization works, because we're starting to tune as energetic beings into that possible reality that we want to tune into. There's a book, if you can find a used copy, it's a good book. It's called The Miracle of Metaphysical Healing by a lady
Okay.
named Evelyn Monahan. And it might be out of print, but you might be able to find a PDF online or something. But she had an accident which left her blind and functionally blind, not like completely, but functionally blind, and with seizures. And she said after about 11 years of that, she got sick and tired of it. Or was it nine or 11? A lot of years.
Hmm.
She told herself, I know how to heal this. I suspect she had studied the Silva method, which is mind control, controlling your own mind. She sat down 3 times a day, breathed and imagined the energy flowing, and imagined herself healed. She imagined herself going to the doctor, who said, I don't know what happened. You have perfect vision. And within less than 2 weeks, she had cured herself. Now
That is
that's
a proper miracle if you get your eyesight back.
yeah. Well, I'm currently using it because I screwed mine up. I'm seeing, but I mean, I had a few injuries that knocked my head a little off. And anyhow, I'm healing mine at the moment. But she did it in 9 days, I think, 9 or 11. And it was fascinating because she just got so thoroughly immersed in this energy field of I am healed. She was tuning into it, dialing in, dialing in. And as an energetic being, she dialed in so clearly to that reality of being whole and healed that she literally started to
Became it.
experience herself
Yeah.
that way. Yeah.
I really have to
And
do this
again,
tonight. 100%.
yeah, I'm with you because I mean, I know when I do this, it works with myself.
Well, that's a glowing recommendation then, and one that I will 100% try tonight.
Yeah. And be a bit patient because as we're doing it, usually what happens when you start playing with these things is like, is it working? And now we're in the old reality. I'm injured. Is it working? I'm healed. Okay, now I'm in that reality. Is it working? I sat with a man once years ago when I used to do in-person sessions, and he had cancer. And as I'm holding his hands and we're talking about what would it be like not to have cancer, his whole field changed. I could feel it. And he was talking about this beautiful reality. And in that moment, his field was not filled with the vibration that I feel with the cancer. And then he started talking about the cancer, and his field went back to being prickly. And I could
It
feel
brought him back. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I could feel the shift in the energy field. Now, the trick for us as we're healing something or creating or manifesting is stay in the condition you want to experience as consistently and often as you can. And I'm not perfect at this, but I know when I have been able to do it, like those incidences I mentioned, when I actually really did change my reality quickly, I had no other thought in my mind. There was no other option in my mind. That was it. Like when I cured the lump, I was healed. That was it. There was no other option. I don't know what gave me that strength and presence of mind to not even go into doubt or fear, but it was like, no, there's no other option.
Well, I'll have this logical mind thing, exactly what you said a minute ago, which is that guy saying, "Is it gone yet? Let me check.
Yeah.
Is it gone?" I'm
Yeah.
that guy because I always think, "Oh my, I can feel my shoulders today."
Yeah.
Is it here? And then I jump. Oh no, it is there. Bugger.
Well, I'll give you an example. I'm curing my vision. I had a day when I did a great meditation. I was like so cured in my head and I opened my eyes and I'm reading signs and things the way I used to. And then I said to myself, is that really working? And
Hmm.
I could feel my physiology go back into that state. it was, it's just a funny thing to watch. So the trick, again, think of it as you're the tuner. Now we're starting to switch to an energetic paradigm versus this 3D mechanical paradigm. If I'm a physical being, well, it's going to take time. It's going to take focus. It's going to take the right chemistry. The generations of new cells have to be born. If I see myself as an energetic being, I better tune into that reality and keep the tuner on that station. From being a musician, you tune in the radio, but if you're constantly wobbling the dial, what are you going to get? A mixed signal, right?
Hmm.
Or well, nowadays we have digital dials, but I mean, if you're constantly going 107.3, 107.5, you're going to get clear signal, static, another station. The trick is to stay on the station you want to experience long enough and consistently enough and thoroughly enough to have that jump in reality.
I want that jump in reality. So I'll
Yeah.
keep you posted on whether it works for me or not.
Yeah. It takes some
I
intense,
hope so.
like, I think of training the mind like training a puppy. And I'm not perfect at it. But what I do is I try to catch my mind when it's going down, trails I don't want it to go, and say, no, no, this is my reality.
Yeah, I get exactly what you mean. I have a question now that's going to take us slightly off this line of thinking, but it's
Yeah.
another area I'm interested in. A few times during this conversation already, you've sort of like, and then they're saying this, that, and the other.
Sorry.
Are
Yeah.
they always doing that? And can you turn that off?
Yeah. There's a steady, constant stream of love and information from the universe, from the angels, anytime you want it. It's available. It's kind of like if you have a radio, there's a station being broadcast at all times. You can tune in or tune out. That's up to you. You can turn the radio off. So there are times, for example, when there are the peanut gallery, meaning maybe somebody's relative is in my head, and I'm trying to talk to the person in the reading. I'll literally say to the relative, "I've got to tune out of you for a minute, and tune into the person I'm talking to." And so I use my focus as the tuner.
So are you constantly doing this? Like halfway, like through this conversation, are you like, right now I'm talking to Koit, now I'm talking to you, Dave, Angel, now I'm talking to you. Is that what you're doing all the time?
I am completely focused on you right now, but when you ask me a question, I consciously, literally focused on quieting my mind to hear these other realms because I wanted to
Gotcha.
hear some input. Yeah. So I think of myself literally like a radio tuner where I'm constantly choosing where I focus on. For example, this is useful for your listeners. Many of them are sensitive and they're empathic. And you go out in a crowd and you feel all sorts of stuff. You might feel somebody's bad mood. Well, if you're an empath, I used to feel like I had no control over that. I'm at the mercy of feeling everything around me. I've since learned that an empath is just a super tuner, You
Mm.
just easily tune into everything and everyone. You can choose your focus. So, for example, if I'm an empath and I'm sitting with an angry person and I don't want to feel their anger, I'm going to start thinking about somebody I love or something pretty in the room or just anything else. I'm going to take
Oh,
my
thank you.
focus, yeah, and tune in on something else.
Thinking of someone pretty in the room there.
Yeah, anything. Just any. Or yeah, there you go. Or you could focus on like flowing love to them if you have that presence of mind instead of being like, "Uh-oh, I'm picking up on their anger." You can say, "Well, let me just imagine flowing love to them instead." And then you're in that stream of, you know, putting something good into the world rather than taking in something not good.
Awesome. Thank you for that one. Is a strange one. The field of energy. Do do each alien race have their own consciousness field, or is it just still one that applies to everyone?
There's one overarching field that applies to everything and everyone. Everything's contained within this infinite intelligence we call God. But they also have their own, I'll call it a subfield. Like there could be a field of consciousness that's a group mind, for an alien race, say.
Mm.
Very much like there's fields upon fields upon fields because there's the one infinite field in which everything's contained, but you have a family. There's that field, that you're raised in, that kind of the family culture and belief systems. You have a girlfriend, you and she have the field as a couple where, there's certain dynamics between the two of you that are, wouldn't be there if you were separate. So for every grouping of beings or even plants, plants can have a field. For example, like trees in the forest, they've done studies on trees that if a certain bug starts gnawing into, a pine tree in the forest, well, the other pine trees will start emitting more resin to make them more immune to these types of
Mm.
bugs. So there's fields upon fields upon fields. Every group has like its own little group mind, and then that's contained within the bigger things.
But
Like
there
those
is
little
but there is an overall thing that will be the
yeah.
top of the umbrella for every species.
Yes, there's nothing outside of it.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one.
Sorry.
No, that's good. I just
We're just
wondered as
letting
well.
that sink in, yeah.
Yeah, literally.
Oh, you know what? Here's the thought. Again, I just kind of tuned into the peanut gallery to find, if there were any other metaphors that were useful. They said if you were to listen to a symphony, there's the flute section, the wind section, with you might have like certain instruments and then they fall within like the wind section or the percussion section. So there's, little group minds and bigger group minds. And then you have the whole symphony, which is the whole overarching collective of music playing that song.
You've just brought up a question, right?
Okay.
Do they have to do creativity through us here, or do they do creativity up there? I.e., are there beings or whatever that these things are up there writing their own symphonies, or do they have to write it through us?
Well, what they're doing is they're emanating love. They're helping to support our creations, but we are the hands in the clay. We're the ones that are down here in the physical 3D universe, bringing that invisible into the visible. So they don't impose their will on us. These angels and the higher beings, they don't impose any of their will on us, but they're here to support us in our adventure. I'll put it this way, on the earth as creators. So, for example, you're sitting there. I want to create a film. I want to create an animation. I want to create a song. I'm grappling with it. I want it to have this kind of feel. Well, they're up there just projecting energy to help and assist you with that.
Yeah, and I get that. What I mean though is a slightly different thing. Rather than sending something to me, are they up there writing their own symphonies for themselves and playing it to themselves, that sort of thing?
They're working on their own existence in the other realms, but they don't impose like their personal desires on the physical universe. So in other words, in the angelic realms, yeah, they're all about the love. They have various ways they want to help share love with humanity. They get together. They have our equivalent of meetings, if you will, like group thinks, about how to help humanity. But they're not imposing their will. We have free will down here. We get to create whatever we want. So, for example, if humanity goes to war, they're going to guide everyone they can to peace. But the ones that really want the war, they're not going to prevent them because we have free will.
I appreciate all that, but I want to get
still
back.
Not getting it.
Yeah,
Okay.
probably not. So let me see if I can reword this. So take us out of the equation entirely, right? Nothing to do with us.
Got it.
Up there, can they do their own creativity for themselves within their own field? I.e., if they one of them decides, I want to write a symphony today, can they do it?
Yes. I get it. Yes, absolutely. And in fact, when I talk to people's relatives that have passed on, angels tend to be really mostly concerned with assisting us. So there's less of their personal desire. I mean, they have a personal desire to help, but it's very focused on helping. But relatives who pass on, God knows I've seen all sorts of things. They're cooking, they're making art. One of the things that I love is sometimes people who did art on Earth will show me like painting with light in 3 dimensions, in the other realms. Like they'll literally use their fingers as a brush and they'll create like a 3-dimensional painting of light. And it's hard to even put into words. It's
imagine.
almost like, it's like if people could take ink in space and just make these beautiful 3-dimensional pieces. So I've seen all sorts of things, and they'll show me things like, one of them showed me that they took a field of flowers and asked it to create music, and so they had music synchronized with the flowers opening. So
well, that's what I want when I die. I want to know if I can do that.
Absolutely, 100%. And there's like whole new realms of creativity available since we don't have any physical limits.
Lush. Good. That's answered that one. Thank you. That's okay. It's what I wanted, so we got there. That's all that matters.
Okay.
Is a strange one, right? And I say that all the time. They're all strange for me. Can you tell me some of your interactions with angels? That can be in-head communication or actual focused appearing angels. And I want to suffix this with this. I think you mentioned Purple Lady last time.
Yes, that was something.
And on that, right, I had something similar happen to me recently. Right, I was walking to Tesco's, just down the road from me, and a lady came up to me just as I was walking to Tesco's, and she stopped right in front of me, looked at me and smiled and said, "Jesus loves you." Right, and then she walked off, and I was like thinking, what the? Is that a normal person just being nice? Is that an intervention of some sorts? Am I looking for answers where there perhaps is none?
Well, the angels would say that was a vibrational interaction. Were you were in a mode to receive love? You were just peaceful and happy, you just, and they said, and this individual is offering her version of love.
So it was an individual rather than an appearance of a focused angel-y sort of thing.
They said in your case, this was a person, but they said it was a person who felt it was their mission to spread love in their way.
No, that's fair. Cool.
Yeah, and it was very sweet. They said, and there are humans that do it. There are angels that do it sometimes, but they said it's always a vibrational interaction, meaning if you're in a receptive space, you're in a mode to receive something and somebody's in a mode to give it, you'll match up.
Yeah,
And
it shocked me at the time because I thought, what the hell? But it wasn't a bad thing, and I said, oh, thank you very much, that sort of thing. But it was
yeah,
just unusual for me.
well, there's all sorts of crazy interactions that can happen, with people. I've had humans walk up to me and answer questions that I've had in my mind randomly. The other day I was at the grocery store and I don't know why I was picking up avocados. And I turned around to the lady next to me and I said, well, I found a way to keep them a little longer. I, tie them up in a plastic bag in the fridge. And she looks at me, she goes, I'm a chef. You put them in a container with water, they'll last forever. And I'm like, oh, so there was an answer to a question. Can I keep them longer? Silly thing. But we find these interactions with people coming to us or spirits when we're in a receptive mode. When you have a question, you're going to find yourself bumping into somebody with the answer if you're open to that.
Well, on that basis, then let's hear a few of your stories of interactions with angels that you believe are focused appearing angels, so not in head
Okay,
experiences. So
I'll share the
yeah,
purple one real quick, just in case
cool.
your listeners are new. Just to make it quick, I was driving one day, younger days. I just need some peace, and I stopped at a store, and this lady appears out of nowhere, and she's wearing like a purple bag lady, purple sweater, purple shirt, purple skirt, purple socks, everything, very disheveled appearance. And she followed me around the store, and at one point I looked at her, and she said, "You like purple?" Yeah. She goes, "It's the color of peace." And she looks in my eyes with like a laser. I'm like, oh my God, that's an angel. Because it was literally like looking through me. And I turned around because somebody said something and I turned back and this lady was gone. That's usually when for sure it's something non-physical. It's like it's a split second and they're gone. Sometimes they run off. But anyhow, so that was a good one. Another time I was just I was in a fabric store and I had been mulling over, a problem that a friend was happening, just really disturbed, wanting to help my friend. And I turn around and there's this guy sitting in a chair, like men wait for their wives in fabric stores,
Do they? I don't know. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
always waiting for women shopping.
yeah, anyhow. So he was sitting there and he looks at me with the most intense eyes ever. And just telepathically, I received a message about my friend. Like in that moment that he looked at me, I got this message about my friend. And again, I blink, I turn around, and then he's gone. Like literally. So I've had these experiences where they're usually very quick. They're usually packed with a feeling of immense love, immense, and then it's split second and they're gone. It's interesting.
Post those experiences, do you then get the in-eds to say, "Oh, that was one of us," that sort of thing?
Well, I just know it. I mean, in that moment, the love is, it's like a signature. There are feelings of immense love that are really the signature of the angels. You feel it so strongly. It's not a physical love. It's like an unconditional feeling of being completely accepted and supported.
A throwaway question now. This is going to sound slightly silly, but it has
It's okay.
a nice intention behind it. But first off, I want to say you recouped your minus points when you mentioned bag lady earlier. That's a phrase
Oh,
that can give you points, so you got those back. Remember
oh, it
when you had
is. Oh,
minus
good.
2 points earlier? You've now
Yeah.
got +2 for using bag lady. Well done, you.
Okay.
Um,
Phew.
I've lost myself now. That's the pisser. What was I talking about?
Okay, you were going to ask a question that you said was going to sound a little off, but it was good, and it was about these
Ah,
appearances.
yes, I know what it is now. Thank you for that. You prompted me.
Mhm.
So, when you've got the voices in your head telling you something, do they refer to themselves as names? So, like, oh, that was Bob you saw on the street earlier. Anything
Not
like that, or do
always.
they not have
Yeah,
names?
not always. I mean, we have given the angels names like Michael, Raphael, and all of that. And so, Archangel Michael, I work with that particular being quite a bit in readings. But healers often work with Raphael. There are times when I'll know personally it's my grandmother, or if I'm in a reading with somebody else, somebody will identify themselves as this is the mom or the dad or things like that. So you can get identifications like that, but 90% of the time when I'm running around going, "Hey guys," I'm talking to the collective mind of this body of angels, and I don't worry about which particular voice within it is answering me.
Yeah, no, I understand. I just wondered if
Yeah,
names are like, last time we mentioned like each one's a points of light or points of
right.
waves or whatever. If each of those point of consciousnesses all have names,
They
do they
often will
not?
take. They often will have names for our sake. you know, as they interact with one another, they're interacting as energetic beings, so they just know each other as this frequency signature. But yeah, they can use names. They don't require them like we do, but they'll use it for our sake.
Got you.
I happen to
Yeah.
be terrible with names, living or otherwise, so quite frequently I don't even get a name. I just get a sense of who it is.
And they probably know that about you, so they don't even bother with names. Yeah.
Quite frequently, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not so great with. I've been out before, and then like people come up to me and say, "Oh, right, Paul," and I have a small conversation with them. And then who the bleeding hell was that? I ain't got a clue who it was, and it was obviously somebody I've worked with before. But
Yeah.
that's
It's
terrible,
easy
isn't
to
it?
do. Yeah. Well, I find that I remember a person and their energy and their, kind of who they are, but the names, I'm not that great.
Yeah,
I have
fair
to
play.
work at that.
I'm not sure if you've heard about Chris Bledsoe. Is that a name that rings a bell for you?
No, unfortunately.
That's okay. I will zoom past that. That's
Or
not
you could
one for you.
describe it and ask.
Well, I'll say the question then, but it may not mean anything for you. So,
Okay.
Chris Bledsoe is quite famous amongst the UFO community, and
Okay.
he's had this prediction or belief or information is coming to him that something massive is happening to us, either late in 26 or early into 2027. I wondered if you had any insights into that.
I don't have insight into the dates, but I do know what's happening is that more and more people are becoming aware that there are other beings and other races and other intelligences in the universe. And more people are having psychic experiences of that, like feelings of connection with otherworldly beings. And there are so many, I'm trying to find a word, species, races, whatever you want to call them, of higher beings, beings in the universe that have a vested interest in maintaining harmony in the universe because they live in it, that are trying to assist Earth in stabilizing itself a bit. Now, again, they're not trying to determine our outcome, but they are projecting a lot of love and compassion and support for humanity to get stabilized within each individual self. So there's a lot of activity around the Earth right now of them trying to project love and stability to us so that we can stop warring with each other, so to speak, mentally and otherwise. There's a lot of activity. So I would not be surprised if humanity en masse started acknowledging their presence at some time in
Right.
the near future. I think a lot of people do already, but I think it hasn't been like a mass consciousness thing yet where people say, oh, yes, it's been proven that there are UFOs or it's been proven that there are otherworldly beings. So I would not be surprised if that becomes something, that becomes just common knowledge during our lifetime.
Good. I look forward to seeing this event happening then, if
Yeah,
that's
I
what
mean,
it is.
I don't know the date specifically, but I would not be surprised. So that's, what I'm getting.
Lush, thank you.
Mhm.
What drinks in that one?
Oh my God, I've got, I'm a girl. I've got like five things. This one's coffee. I've got coffee. I've got electrolytes. I've got water. I've got tea.
You still got that vodka from last time or not? In the
No
hip flask?
vodka. No, I don't need that. I've got my own juice spiritually.
Yeah, good on you. I don't drink
Yeah.
either. What other paranormal experiences? I know you probably wouldn't even consider what you do paranormal anyway. It's just normal to you. But what
Yeah.
other experiences have you had? I do know last time you told us about a comet and your alien grey Cairo treatment.
Oh, that was funny. Yeah, just for your readers, I was in my living room once and I was wondering about ETs, and in my mind's eye, this one shows up literally so strongly in my mind's eye, it looked real. And she looks at me. I knew it was a she. I don't know how. And I had a kink in my neck that day, and telepathically says, I can fix that. And me being me, I'm like Forrest Gump of the spiritual world. I said, okay. And what do I do? Breathe. So I breathe. And energy shoots up my spine, and my head goes, and I got a chiropractic adjustment. And then she disappears. And I thought, wait a minute, can I keep you on retainer? It was,
It's a good one, that one. I love it.
instead of sitting there thinking, oh my God, an ET adjusted me, I'm like, hey, come back, how do I access you again? But I've had all sorts of crazy experiences with things like that in terms of other beings showing up and me briefly having a discussion with them. One of the
Well, then you're going to
craziest.
have to tell us the story of one of them. Go for it.
Yeah, this is one of the craziest ones I've had. There are also beings that are, I would call, parasitic. They've evolved without feeling and emotion, and they really stir up a lot of trouble. Basically, they're like viruses in the energetic universe. And I once had a talk with them. I said, why don't you stir up love? You're looking for free energy, and love is a very beautiful high vibe. Why don't you stir up love instead of, you know, amplifying people's own negativities? And very clinically, it answered me and said, love isn't sustainable yet in the human race, but when fear or anger take root, they just keep going and going and going. So it becomes more sustainable energy.
That's
That's
nice.
on
Nice
us.
to hear.
That's,
Yeah.
that's on us. Yeah. So for example, when there are times when a person says, I don't know why I can't get out of my own way. Well, there might be a variety of psychological or biological reasons, but sometimes, especially in the case of people who addict and can't seem to get out of the negativity, there are other influences that have a vested interest in having them continually stay in their angry, upset space. Now, that does not mean you want to abdicate responsibility for your own space. That means you want to take more responsibility for your own space, or go get help, because you don't want to. Now I have a little joke when I feel one of those energies around me. I'm like, no fear McNuggets tonight, you know.
And how often is that then? Do they parade around you quite a lot, or because you bat them off so easily, do they even
Well,
bother anymore?
think of it this way. Every single person has viruses around them and cancer cells around them, but most of us have immune systems that are strong enough that those things just don't do anything in the body. You look at a virus, it's an inert protein chain. It has no life unless it inhabits an unhealthy cell and takes over it. That's actually the nature of a virus. It's an inert
Hmm.
string of proteins that has no life without a host. So these things, these energy viruses, you can think of them that way. They have no life without somebody hosting them, with fear or anger or upset. So it's on us to maintain a fairly healthy immune system, by decent habits, decent thoughts, do what we can. And it's also on us to maintain a healthy spiritual immune system, meaning we try not to indulge in like long extended periods of negativity or anger, because that's when these energetic viruses can take root. So it's just, I don't know why I'm talking about this, but maybe someone needs to hear it. It's just that as we learn to maintain our spiritual energy, we learn to retrieve ourselves, when we start getting too angry for too long of a time or something like that. We learn to say, wait a minute, I don't like that. Let me refocus on something good. Let me try to bring myself back to a soothed state. Let me go get help. Then these energetic viruses don't take root. They don't start to make you feel crazy.
So they're not in this way like an anti-angel, i.e. a demon. They are just random things that try
Yeah.
to attach to feed, and that's it.
A lot of what people call evil really is just, I would call it parasitic, like a virus, like something that has taken root in somebody in anger or frustration or whatever it is, that has just been indulged too long. And then, they start losing a bit of control over their own mind, and they have to work harder to get it back. People who do terrible things in the world are often people who were very, very wounded, and it festered for a while until they started attracting other energies that, in a sense, create more chaos. So the angels say, the reason they're having me say this, they're in the back of my head, is they said, we don't want people fearing evil or fearing darkness. We just want people who take a little responsibility for their energy fields and say, you know what, I'm starting to go down a path of, deep, dark thoughts here. Let me get some help. Let me not indulge in this. Let me not let this fester within me. Because as you seek the help or the soothing or take a nap or, do whatever you need to do to try to bring yourself into a slightly better space, then you're building up your spiritual immunity to these energies that could easily pull you down,
And get
pull
you.
you, yeah,
Yeah,
get you a bit.
swines.
Well, for example, in the world right now, there's a lot of people getting hooked on the drama and the negativity, and they're allowing it to drag them down and take their focus away from living their lives. And the angel's saying, we don't want you to take your focus away from living your life and enjoying your life. Let whatever negativity in the world is out there, let it be there, but you focus on your own life, manage your own energy, and then you can have a very pleasant experience in the world, regardless of what's going on around you. So they must have wanted to get that in because I went there, but
No, that's
that's
fair, and it circles back to what we said earlier, which is literally just turn it off,
mhm.
tune it
keep
out, turn
keep
the TV
turning the
off.
dial. Yeah, no
Yeah, yeah,
matter how
yeah,
much the dial wants to go there, turn it back.
yeah.
And
Get rid
now,
of it.
as for other paranormal experiences, I've had all sorts of experiences with things showing up, that weren't there. I had a friend who lost something once in my house, and he was in communication with angels too, and they said when you stop being hard on yourself, it'll show up again. And it so I guess he was teaching himself a lesson. So anyhow, at one point he said, I just have to stop beating myself up for making mistakes. And then all of a sudden he found this thing in a different location than where he left it.
What is that though? A punishment from them to him, or himself to himself?
himself to himself. You know, the angels were trying to help him realize that you were beating yourself up about making mistakes and losing things. And he literally was so hard on himself, he entered a reality in which he was losing things, you know, literally. And then when he stopped beating himself up, he entered a reality in which these things were no longer lost.
It's mad, isn't it? It's all coming back to this brain and choosing things again.
Well, yeah, here's a very fun way people can use that practically. I lose my keys all the time. Okay, I'm absent-minded professor. I put them down. And I have found that if I sit there frustrated, you know, my keys are lost, I could look straight at them and not see them.
Mm.
You know, because they're lost. To me, they're lost. I'm living in a reality in which they're lost, even if they're sitting right there. So now I play a game. I know you know where they are. I know you know they're not far. You know, I screw around like that. And lo and behold, I'll look over, there's my keys. So now I don't worry about things that are lost. I'm like, oh, I know you know where they are. Just have me find them. I'll let it go. I'll go about my business and I'll just run into them.
Are you dancing around your house singing that little ditty?
Yes. I'm serious. I'm very childish. I play like Forrest Gump. I make up fun ways to play with energy. Yeah, because the more playful you are, you know, the less serious you are, the less, you know, you're in a higher vibe then. You have more of a chance of getting what you want. Yeah. Well, for example, go ahead.
Oh, well, okay. I'm just going to sing you a little song now, right? That me and Tiff do when it's time for our dog to go out for a walk. It's time for nibs, Jelly Bolly know that it is time for nibs. And you sing that song, and it's for him, and for me, and for Tiff, and we have fun with it, just for going out for a walk.
Love that, yeah.
Your ditty with your keys, I love it.
Yeah, I do this all the time when I had dogs. It's like, rub-a-dub-dub, there's a dog in the tub, you know, and the dogs would start running away and chase them, and we'd have our little game, you know. But when you're manifesting, you know, since you're very creative, when you're manifesting something, make up a little ditty about what you're manifesting because it will raise your vibe. You'll laugh, you'll smile, and you'll create it very quickly. You know, in my 30s, it was like, my spine is straight, I have a date, I'm feeling great. And within a week, I was dating a wonderful man. And
and was your spine straight after that or not?
Well, it's sure straight now because I felt better. Anyhow, it was
there
hilarious.
You go. So you're winning. Yeah.
Yeah.
You brought it about.
Play with that one with your injury, though.
Oh, have a laugh with it. Yeah.
Try to create a little ditty about being whole, healed, and healthy. You know, something fun and playful, and that makes you kind of be like a child. You know, the saying, "Be like a child, enter the kingdom of heaven." Well, what is that? When you're playing like a child, you get into a very high vibration, and in that high vibration, your quote miracles are possible more easily. You can switch realities more easily.
I am literally a child, right? Seriously.
Me
but
too.
With logical intelligence.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah, it's a good thing because that's what keeps you that's curious and creating and, you know, willing to try different realities out.
Yeah. I have childish thoughts. Like every question I ask you, right? You'll say something, and in there will be a cue line for me to give you a joke on everything. Pretty much.
Feel free. We love that. Yeah, we love that.
I know, but some of them are not fit for broadcast. So I do like filter myself, but
yeah, that's good.
I'm just that all the time. So
you want to keep your listeners, yeah? Okay.
Yeah. Some of the swear words have gone through, but hey, sod that.
Yeah.
They can get a few of them. Let's quickly, before we enter the Koit zone for your second time there, I want us to talk about Star Wars.
I love Star Wars.
What was your introduction to Star Wars?
It was actually when it first came out. You know, it first came out, and my brother, excuse me, 2 seconds. I talk so, sorry about that, talking so much. Anyhow, when it first came out, my brother was raving about it. He was 3 years younger. And because he was my brother, I thought to myself, oh, that's stupid.
Nice.
And then some friends wanted me to see it. So we waited in line at a theater. I don't know if you remember, but when it first came out, the lines were insane. And I sat there and watched this and I was hooked. I was like, this is it. This is real. This is, you know, something just resonated with me so strongly about the Force. And I think I watched it over and over and over again. I got the book. I memorized the first 20 pages of the book so I could entertain myself at boring events, you know. And you know, and I became a fanatic, quite frankly. You know, I read everything Star Wars I could get my hands on. And it was really because the idea that there was a field of energy just resonated with me so strongly.
And interesting that you then went that route, isn't it?
Yeah, and not until years and years later. But, I've come to understand that they were describing, literally these metaphysical principles that, yogis and people have taught for centuries that I was unaware of at the time. I was very religious. I grew up that way. But something just said, this feels like home.
Can you recite the script?
Not anymore.
But you used to though. When you
Yeah, yeah. When I
yeah.
when I was I had this weird habit of playing memory games when I was a kid. My parents would go to events and concerts and things that parents did way back then, and to a kid, they were boring. I'm sure they were lovely cultural events, but I was bored. So I would memorize things so I could shut my eyes and like read my books in my head.
Oh, fair play.
But I haven't retained it. A lot of that I've let it go.
Do you have any Star Wars memorabilia or things in your house?
Yes, I've still got my original Star Wars paperback book that's falling apart. I've got some old pictures. I think I have somewhere a comic book my dad brought me from Japan with Star Wars. But largely it's just that now I have the digital version of the movies, of course.
Yeah, obviously. Do
Yeah,
have you seen all the new stuff, like the Disney stuff and that, like the Mandalorian and things, or not?
not all of the new ones actually, but the original ones are like etched in my soul.
Yeah, superb high-end stuff.
Yeah,
Have you seen Rogue One?
I believe I have that. Yeah, a while ago. That was a while ago, wasn't it? That
That's
it came
yeah, it's
out.
the movie when Darth Vader goes apeshit in the hallway.
Yeah, that one. Yeah.
Yeah, good. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, well, the whole archetype of darkness being created out of like an overabundance of love gone south. Like he
Mm,
loved his mother so much that his love for her turned south because he became vindictive. When she was killed. So it's an interesting thing that all darkness is born of like light gone wrong. In a sense.
yeah,
And
yeah.
the other scene that I really love, I use as a teaching tool all the time, is when Darth Vader is trying to convert Luke to the dark side. Use your anger, use your anger. Well, there you go. It's what we were talking about earlier. Use your anger. That will pull you away from your true nature, which is light.
So true.
Yeah. So it's a reminder that it's on us to maintain our mood, our light. Do or get help. I'm not saying don't get help. I'm just saying it's on us to mind our minds. Maintain our vibration.
Who would you pick from Star Wars as your favorite character?
Oh my God, I love them. I think at the time I was in love with R2D2 for some reason. Just because it was so cute. But there you go. There's ChatGPT right in on legs.
Yeah, that's good though. I think I
Yeah.
was drawn to C3PO when I was younger.
Oh yeah, he was fun. I also liked Luke, not from a crush standpoint, but more from a standpoint of that average human being turned into this superpower, because it kind of to me said that anybody has these special powers. You just have to kind of work on them and create them within you. So the human being I admired most was Luke, because there he was, this reluctant average individual who found that there's really something special inside, and you just have to use the discipline and the mental train. That scene where he's trying to raise the
Excellent,
X-wing
yeah.
fighter out of the swamp. I can't do it. Try or try not. Yoda says, do or do not. It would, to me, that just hit me. It's like it's not about whether or not I can. It's about whether or not I'm willing
Yeah,
to adopt
powerful
a
scene that.
powerful scene. Mindset. So that has stuck with me.
What does it tell? Can you tell? I'm going to try and reword this nicely or properly. What can we tell about people who are drawn to the darker characters like Darth Vader, Boba Fett, versus
I think
people like Luke or Leia?
Well, I think they're trying to understand themselves. I think no matter what we're drawn to in life, whether it's Star Wars characters or other, we're trying to understand ourselves. So, for example, if a person's drawn to the dark side, they may be exploring what is true power. What is true power? Is it the ability to manipulate and control others? Or is it something different? I'm exploring this because it's a question I have inside of myself. So I think we're drawn to these, like me being drawn to Luke Skywalker. Do I really have those powers? Can I really do that? That's why I was drawn to that, because I'm always exploring, what are the limits of the mind? It's something I'm eternally curious about. So
Hmm.
I think people are drawn to whatever it is they're exploring within themselves.
So if someone is drawn heavily to Darth Vader, They're not
Hmm.
necessarily an evil killer.
No,
It's just they
no,
enjoy that.
yeah, they're I'm just going to make this up. It could be many things. It could be that they're just fascinated with something very different than themselves. Maybe they're a really super sweet person and they're curious about, the other side. It could be that they were abused and they, encountered their own version of Darth Vader, early on, and
I
they're
see. Yeah,
trying to
yeah.
make peace with it. There's a million reasons, but it's something they're exploring at some level. They're interested in.
Good. As long as I'm not being hard on myself for liking the darker characters. But I
No,
do
not
love
at all.
Yoda.
Well, no, it's just really it's an exploration of what is power, what is, how come these people got away with so much, how come, how do
That
they
could be
have so
it.
much power? I'm curious, how did they get away with so much? Because intuitively I know the universe is based on light. How did that happen? You know?
Yeah.
And so there's usually just a curiosity about what is that energy? Why is it working the way it works? What are its limits?
One final Star Wars question before we enter the Koit zone. You mentioned you liked Luke, and you were at pains to tell me it wasn't from a crush perspective.
No, I
So,
know, because I had my crushes on like Robin from Batman and Robin, anyhow.
what was it? The tight pants? Was that what it was?
No, it was the rescue. It was so
Oh, was
funny.
it?
He could
My
fly.
question was going to be about, was it Han Solo or Luke for you that you fancied as a youngster?
I would say it had to be Luke because I felt like he was just so goody two shoes average, which I that consider myself to be a bit goody two shoes average,
Oh, okay. You're drawn to
and
that, yeah.
yeah. Whereas my friend who liked the bad boys was very much in love with Han Solo. Okay.
Yeah, I know. And do you know what? I've struggled to work that out for years. It haunted me in my younger days. That is why women love bad boys. It just, I get it
Well,
now from a psychological perspective, so I looked into it, but it's weird. It's a weird phenomenon.
I think we're drawn to whatever parts of ourselves that we either really like or that we disown and we're trying to own better.
Hmm.
That's my spiritual take on it. It's like if you refuse to let yourself have a little fun, well, you're going to be very attracted to people that are having a lot of fun.
And that's it. And let's have a bit more fun as we enter the Koit zone. Koit zone!
Ah,
So here we
okay.
go. Some more strange ones for you. Right, now we,
Okay.
we, we touched on this briefly earlier, actually. What is your favorite candy or chocolate?
Oh my God, at the moment, let me see. There's so many. At the moment, it's candy canes, peppermint
What
sticks.
pepper? I was going to ask that. Yeah, what flavor? Peppermint.
Peppermint sticks. Yeah, I really like peppermint.
Have you got some on your desk right now?
I've got some in the kitchen. My friend overindulged me last Christmas. She bought a box of them for me, so I'm still eating them.
Which reminds me, you don't have your Christmas decorations up now. You last time you had them up for ages afterwards. Are you putting them up earlier this year?
I have Halloween up, and
Good.
I'm one of these people that just likes to have holidays all over the place.
You got to celebrate. Is
Hmm.
there a TV show that you're binging at the moment?
I'm binging YouTube channels right now because I've been in
Okay.
this creative vibe. I'm watching all sorts of channels on, how to do design work, how to do music. Also, I'm binge watching creative channels on YouTube.
Lush, lush.
Yeah,
What is the nearest piece of fruit to you
it
from
is
where
a
you're
banana.
sitting?
Yeah, a banana.
Is that within arm's reach?
No, it's in my kitchen. I'm in my office.
But that's good. I
Yeah.
envisaged something like that it was in another room and you knew where it was.
Oh,
That's
completely.
good.
Yes, I have a bowl full of fruit at all times. Yeah.
Not that you'd have like random fruits in different parts of your house. Like suddenly there's one in a closet or something.
One hopes not. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be weird. What in your house is due for repair and it's on your list to do?
Okay, I've got a patio roof where the drywall is starting to come down a little bit. It's 30 years old, so that's next up on the list. So it
Get to
doesn't
it.
fall on my head and ruin my day.
Yeah. Speaking of that, right? A pub near us recently, the drywall from the ceiling fell off onto people while they
Oh
were eating
my.
their Sunday lunch.
Oh my.
Yes, you
Okay,
don't
I'll
want
take
that
that as a
happening in
sign.
your house.
Right. That's on the list.
What is the strangest meat you've ever eaten?
Hmm. I don't think I've eaten anything terribly strange, but it's probably some version of prosciutto or salami or something, where there's been some weird mix.
Oh,
They put all
processing.
sorts of
Yeah.
spices in it. I mean, it was good, but it was unknown to me.
But you haven't ate any exotic meats then?
Okay, wait a minute. I am recalling something. Years ago, I went to Peru and some of the things we were fed were foreign to me. I have no idea what was in it.
If
It
you're
was
in
just,
Peru, it's probably guinea pig, isn't it?
I don't know what I was eating.
I think they eat a lot of guinea pig that way. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yike.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I've ruined your day.
Oh no.
Lovely. Sorry about that
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
Have you?
So it was mystery.
Oh God, have you ever frightened yourself?
Yes. And I almost feel like it wasn't me frightening me, but it was those parasites. Years ago, I was tired and exhausted, and I started having a barrage of very horrible thoughts come into my mind that I knew wasn't me. I felt like it was something that was almost like attacking, but I wouldn't exactly feel it that way. It was more like when you feel a cold coming on, but it was like a mental cold. Thoughts of you're worthless. You don't have a point. If you died, nobody would care. Horrible thoughts.
Oh,
And
lovely.
these are not my thoughts. I knew they were not my thoughts, but I felt like I was being barraged with thoughts the same way you would feel like when a cold is coming on. And it was a little frightening because I felt like for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like I was in the driver's seat with my own mind. And it was very sudden and it was very abrupt. And I knew at that time, it's like, these are not my thoughts. So I literally said to the heavens, I'm going to sleep and do something with this. you know, I just need to turn this off. Anyhow, I went to sleep. I woke up and it was gone. But I think I was given that experience because I have talked to a lot of people who have unfortunately committed suicide. On
Oh
the other
God.
side, I talked to them and they would frequently say I needed to escape my own thoughts. And it's like, okay. So at some point they indulged in such negativity that they allowed that barrage of thoughts to start amplifying within their own minds to the point where they wanted to escape and they found a different way of escape, my way of escape. I knew my own mind enough to know that that was not me. And I knew some tools, which are just go to sleep, shut your mind off, meditate, do something, just turn it off.
Yeah, but
But that was frightening. That was frightening.
I bet it was. But those people that said I couldn't escape my own mind, is that just semantics and it was partly their mind and then the external influence adding up?
In many cases, yes, not always, but in many cases, yes. Frequently if people addict heavily, their intention in it. I mean, some people addict to have fun. Okay, I'm not going to judge them at all, but some people addict because they're trying to escape a reality that they can't deal with. And they're literally trying to get out of their bodies temporarily. Well, if you try to get out of your body temporarily enough, there's sure enough critters and things that would love to get in. So
Swines.
yeah, so you can be influenced, yes, but again,
Mm.
it always goes back to our own indulgence. Are we going to indulge in negativity, or are we going to indulge in those feelings? I just want to get off the planet or something enough that we allow these things to get in. Very similar to, if you're not getting any sleep and you have terrible eating habits and you're upset, well, you predispose your body towards getting a cold. It's not rocket science. We all do it, and I'm not judging it, but we do predispose ourselves. So say you're having a very intense, stressful time in life, it might be better to eat a little better during that time, just because it'll keep you healthier. Whereas it's like, screw it, I'm going to eat every crappy thing I have. Well, now you're pretty much saying I just don't care about my own well-being.
Candy canes. Disgrace.
I do one a day, keeps the doctor away.
One a day. Is it one a day though, or is it like one and a half now?
No. Years ago, I learned to actually enjoy what I eat without needing to shovel it into my body. Because I used to shovel, let's face it. I
Mm.
used to sit down with a bag of whatever it was and eat the whole thing. But I found years ago, the angel said to me, this is an aside, but it's a good diet plan for your readers, okay? They said, eat consciously. Slow it down. And then, so there I was with my bag of Doritos at the time, and I would put one in my mouth and really enjoy it and put another and really enjoy it. And because I was eating consciously, by the third or fourth one, it's like, oh, I'm done. They're no longer tasting so great. I enjoyed it.
What
And I
flavor
learned
Doritos were they?
just straight up the originals. And
It's got to be the cheese or the barbecue. They're the ones that are
oh, the
so
cheese, yeah, the
rich.
cheese, yeah.
Yeah.
And then years later, I found a book. It was I don't know the author, but the book was Why French Women Don't Get Fat. And it was a similar principle that they eat very consciously and intentionally. They enjoy their food and therefore they require less because they're enjoying what they do eat. So anyhow,
Yeah.
bottom line is I can be very satisfied with one candy cane because I'm very present with it. I'm enjoying it.
Fair
And it
play to you.
satiates, it satiates me. It's not like I eat it and miss the experience and therefore want another one.
You've beat the system with that one.
Yeah.
What was the last illness you had?
Oh my goodness, this was a long time ago. Let me see. I don't remember, which is good. I haven't been sick
That is good.
since before 2019. Yeah. Gosh, I don't recall. Isn't that funny? I don't remember. I mean, I've had various things over the years, like, I had shingles one year. That was not fun. That's the last one I can recall that was of significance. I had a friend who had it really bad, who was in California, and I woke up in the middle of the night thinking, I wish I could take it away. And then something in me said, no, you don't. No, you don't. And I thought to myself, I could handle it. And I focused on his problem so much that I created it within me. It wasn't like I took it on, but I focused on it so much, wishing and wishing and wishing I could help. Oh no, he's sick. Oh no, he's sick. Well, pretty soon I activated that vibration within myself.
Ooh.
That, nasty. So anyhow, don't do that.
No. No, I won't
Not
do
good.
that. I
But
won't focus on shingly men.
the takeaway from that though is if you're around somebody who's got a condition or an illness or something that's serious, do your best to imagine them healed. For example, my own family members have various chronic conditions going on. But instead of me, do you have time for a story? I'll tell it. It might be powerful for your
Go for it.
listeners. Okay. My own mother has a lot of things going on right now physically, but she's a trooper. She still keeps going. But one day earlier in the year, I thought something really not good is up. I'm feeling it. She has heart conditions and all sorts of things. And she was going to take the grandkids to New York City with my dad. They were going to go on a trip, but I didn't feel so good. So I called her up and I said, what's going on? And she said, I have a terrible feeling about this trip. I said, well, I do too. I said, let's look at this. What's terrible? She says, well, we're not going to rent a car. I have a special diet. I don't know where I can get good food. If I don't eat good food, it's bad on my heart, etc. And I said, okay. I said, how can we turn this around? Can I help you find, places with good food? And she said, that would be great. She said, you know me, I don't ask for help, but yeah, I would like that. Anyhow, long story short, I found several places with really healthy food that she could walk to within a few minutes of the hotel. And it was such a relief to her that she could take care of herself. I said, go to bed. I'm going to work on you. So all night I pictured her healthy, healed, whole, and having a good trip. I projected, with her the positive outcome we wanted. She woke up and she said, things have changed. It's going to be okay. I said, I know. I think she was going to die of a heart attack on that trip. I
No.
felt it. She felt it, because if she had been so stressed out and not eating right and all that, it would have created a bad condition. So when somebody around you has tough stuff going on, do your best to focus on a healed, whole, and healthy outcome. Now, we can't do it for someone else if they're not at least willing to heal, but we can help and assist our loved ones by projecting, the reality that we want to help them empower.
You reminded me of something that happened to me actually. It's exactly the same as that in terms of I felt as if I was going to be having a heart attack at some
Oh,
stage,
wow. Wow.
and I
Yeah.
thought I can't carry on like this because we were on holiday, me and Tiff, and we were walking up steep coast path. We do
Oh,
coast
oh,
path
wow.
holidays. It was really
Yeah.
steep, up and downs, and I just couldn't cope with it on that holiday. I had to stop a lot, and I thought I'm gonna have a bloody heart attack if this shit carries on. So I stopped from that point eating all the and changed my life, and now I
Yeah.
do the coast paths easily. So
Nice.
you have to recognize those signs, I think.
Yeah, it's good. So anyhow, that was the story of when I last got sick, but also with how we can avoid getting sick by not fearing it and taking note of these little signals like you did along the
Yeah.
way, paying attention to those thoughts. This isn't so great for me. I better make a change. And that way you can avoid, like, I haven't been sick since. I've had some injuries because I'm not grounded, but I have not had a cold. I've not had a flu. I went through all of COVID. I had a friend come over and give me a massage, towards the end of COVID, and in a closed room 2 hours straight. And he woke up the next morning with COVID and he called me and said, I'm so sorry. I've got it. I didn't know. And I said, yeah, I'm sorry for you too. And he says, no, I'm so sorry. I don't want to give it to you. I said, you can't give me COVID. I'm not tuning into it. I made a determination at the beginning of this whole pandemic. I'm tuning into health, wholeness, and healing and light. And every day I would imagine myself just glowing light, emanating love, and it didn't touch me. I was fine.
Quality. Well,
Yeah,
I think I had it, and it wasn't great for me. I was for
it's
about a
not
week. I
fun.
was like led on the floor, dizzy all
Yeah,
the time. Horrible
yeah,
stuff.
it's not fun. Yeah, but anyhow, the trick is to really, to the best of your ability, determine that number one, you're going to listen to the little signals along the way so you don't have to go downhill. Like if I had to listen to that little voice that said, stop focusing on this,
Mm,
and you did listen to the voice that said, I don't want to have a heart attack. You made some changes. So
I think
number
you
one,
have to.
listen to
Yeah.
those little messages that your body, your spirit gives you. It could be as simple as, I'm really tired, I need to rest. Or it could be as simple as, I need to stop worrying about this problem. Just things like that. So pay attention. And the second thing is, do your best to project images of yourself being whole and healed and healthy. Do your best, and it will really keep you in a good space, because then you'll also get these inklings what is healthy for you. In your case, it was changing some diet. In my case, it's do the ice baths. Whatever
Mm.
it is for us, we're going to get the signals that are consistent with that projection of health and wellness, because we're back to the talk, dialing into it. We're dialing into the whole and healed reality, so we're getting the messages what goes along with that physically.
And I agree on all of that. Here's one for you. Another one though. Name a
Okay.
cartoon dog. We couldn't get any more disparity, could we, between the seriousness and the strangeness?
That's funny. Cartoon dog. Oh, what's his name? Scooby Doo.
Yeah, you got 1 point. I wrote down a whole list of ones you might mention
Oh,
and how many
oh
points.
no. And I'm
Name
also
another one.
thinking of,
See, let's see what else you can get off the
oh,
list.
what's the name of the cute one on 101 Dalmatians? I forget. Anyhow, I forget his name, but there's a really cute puppy on 101 Dalmatians.
I
And
didn't write
there's
that one down,
also,
but you'll
okay,
get
there's
5 points
also
for that one.
Lady and the Tramp, from Disney,
Yeah,
those
we're
guys.
doing well.
So,
This is
okay. Just like
you've got
cartoon
11
dog.
points so far. Well done.
Right.
Right. Well, we'll stop there because otherwise we could be there all day just naming
Yeah.
cartoon dogs, and we don't
Up
want to
the
do that.
panel. Yeah.
Last question in the Koit zone. A ladder appears in your garden that leads up to the clouds. Are you climbing it?
Yes, immediately. Yes.
You just don't care what's there, do you?
Well, you're going to laugh at this, but I learned a technique called shamanic journeying years ago, where you would imagine bringing yourself into higher realms and talking with your guides. And the metaphor used was a ladder into the clouds.
Nice.
You imagine climbing a ladder into this higher space so that you could, reach your guides. It was just a visual metaphor, but it's so funny you mentioned that, because to me, that's so comfortable.
Yeah. A
I
lot
would
of
just
people
have to
say
see
this
what,
about these Koit zone questions. They seem very pertinent to the people I speak to.
yeah, well, you're so psychic. You're in tune. Even when
Yes,
you don't
I've
know
been
you're in
told
tune,
that.
you're in tune. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know whether to accept that or not, or to believe it, or it is what it is.
Yeah.
Maybe I should.
I would just say, well, whatever, it works, right?
Whatever, I agree. That's me. Whatever, it works. Um, that's the end of the Koit zone. So we'll just wrap
Okay.
up now with a couple of the two final questions. So last time I asked what you like to do in your downtime, and you mentioned gardening, right? And based on this, a lot of people I speak to, this very, very question, they enjoy gardening, hiking, and creative outlets and stuff. Is it then just a simple case of people wanting to reconnect with nature and then create? Is that it?
Yes, and because nature is pure in the sense that it doesn't try to be anything other than what it is. You can count on it to be itself. You know what I'm saying? There's no manipulation. There's no trying to impress it. Come as you are in nature. You
Yes.
don't have you don't have to be something you're not. You just show up and interact with it. And I think we crave those very simple and pure interactions. And I think we like all of the hope and the inspiration that nature offers. We love watching things grow. You know, we love watching things appear out of nothing. You think of it, a tiny seed that grows into this giant plant, and it doesn't dig a hole out of the soil and convert the matter to matter. It's coming up with something else, right? So it's just a fun thing to watch creation.
I
And I
agree.
think we like that interaction with creation. And same with creativity. We're interacting with invisible creation. We love that interaction with creation. Anything that's being created and growing and thriving, it's fun to watch because it reminds us of what's inside of us.
I do love that. Creativity is fun, and I think that's a message we should take with us. Um, last question. I'm going to say, what are you currently working on? I know there's going to be for you a plethora of things. You did mention last time that you were going to start a book. Did you start that book?
It's all brewing around in my mind, and
It's
nine
still in
times out
there.
of ten, yeah, 9 times out of 10, when I write books, they brew here forever, and then eventually I sit at the computer and they just come fast. So it's still brewing. The other thing that's happening is I've been teaching classes twice a year that I just love. I just finished teaching a class called Living in the Flow of Grace that I teach people to get in the present very quickly and easily, and then tune into their guidance in the present and trust that, and to trust that if you can reach a higher vibration, you'll get your guidance. So I teach them a bunch of silly tools like the one of appreciating something right in front of you, to raise your vibe so that you can receive your guidance. And that's just profoundly fun for me, to take a room full of people and help them tap into what they really deeply know inside of their spirit, but they just need a reminder, so that's fun.
Awesome. I do actually have one more final question for you, actually,
okay.
Which is, have you been back to that stop sign?
No, believe it or not, but every time I see a stop sign, I laugh.
I bet you do.
It's just like, oh, there's a family member, It's gotten to the point where I can look at the back of a car and laugh because you see the trunk smiling at you in the eyes, and I was doing that before the Pixar movie came out,
One day you're going to find yourself at that stop sign, and there you are, you cheeky minx, oh, it's you. Do you remember me?
Probably, yeah. It's reality gets to be a lot of fun, and I have a deeply serious job. I help people who have lost their kids, deeply serious, who are going through massive trauma in their lives. I'm aware of the stuff going on in the world. I have parents who are older and have all sorts of problems in their lives, so I'm very connected to the serious side of life. But how do I deal with it? I maintain that lighthearted connection with these things that raise me up. You be as a child, enter the kingdom of heaven. And then from that period, that place of joy, I can much more easily help people with their serious, deep, dark problems and losses. I can help my parents stay, my mom especially, stay alive and fulfill her wishes of being on the planet still. I can assist. And so it's in our lightness that we actually help everybody else far more. We really can't help people from a space of being down. We can commiserate and we can make them feel a little more comfortable, but it's by maintaining our own vibration and mood that we actually become much, much more powerful forces of light and kindness in the world.
Agreed. So it's fun to be around fun people, isn't it? This is
it's not selfish at all. It's not childish in the sense of being irresponsible. It's actually being quite responsible for your vibration.
Bang on. And we will leave with that sentiment. Anne, thank you ever so much for coming on again. Lovely information passed my way again, and you did answer all my questions, however weird and strange they may be. I apologize for some of them as well. But
no, they're fun questions. Out of the box questions are usually the good ones.
Good. Thank you ever so much for coming on. Check out links in the descriptions, everyone watching and listening to Anne's sites, etc. Go and check her out. Loads of great stuff and fun to be had there. Anne, thank you ever so much.
Thank you too. Have a great day.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
To watch other KoitCast episodes, please click the image top left. To subscribe to my channel, please click the image top right. Please like and share to help KoitCast grow, and most importantly of all, please click the notification bell so you never miss an upload.